good evening. It's Thursday night on Twitch, and it's time for the question to be asked that gets asked each and every week, and that is, hey, did you see this one? And without fail, Kalen is dancing to the theme song he can't hear. Hello, and welcome to the show. Every time. Hello, and welcome to the show. It is, yes, Thursday night, as the lovely announcer just said. I am joined, as always, by Steven and Kalen, and this week we have a special guest. Please put your hands together for Cassandra Hodgins.
Hello, greetings to the internet world.
And your host for this week, of course, is Steve.
I'm the host.
Steve.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing this week? Good. That's great. I'm so happy to hear about it. So, as you all know, we've been continuing our theme for this month, which is Hack the Planet.
Hack the Planet.
You know,
I got hacked.
As such proof as the movie we did last week where nobody hacks anything at all, basically.
Well, sort of do.
I mean, there was that submarine,
Submarine?
No. Sorry, I was distracted.
I got confused by reality.
Yeah, my bad. It was cool, dude.
I'm in.
I just hacked the planet. I'm here. But this week we're continuing our theme for the month, and this week's episode is 1995's anime classic Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell.
In the year 2029, with the advancement of cybernetic technology, the human body can be augmented or even completely replaced by cybernetic parts. Another significant achievement is the cyber brain. And that's all I'll say about the plot so far. People have cyber brains in this movie, guys.
I didn't realize it was 2029. Just so you know, if you're listening to this in the extreme past, this is 4 years from now. 6 years from now. I don't math so well. 6 years from now, I don't think that we're going to have any chips in the brain. I think Elon Musk
Elon's trying.
He may put a chip in someone's
He's trying
brain.
to do a lot of stuff, guys.
It's true. There are chips in monkeys' brains, allegedly. That's where we're at with this technology.
Well, I mean, considering the fact that we just couldn't find a bunch of billionaires for like a while under the ocean, so I don't know.
If you're listening to this in the extreme future, this was the week where the billionaires went missing and trying to go look at the Titanic.
Are you going to make a documentary while it's still happening?
Netflix is already on it.
Oh man, the amount of media coverage and TikTok coverage that was happening, they have so much fuel to just make a million documentaries about it.
Tom Hanks is just going to play everybody in the biopic of these.
Anyway, we don't need to talk about it. Everybody in the world knows about it. And you know, it's shitty that happened. I'm sure they were nice people.
Stop, Steve. Come on.
I saw your skin crawl from the opposite side.
Listen, one of them was a
screen.
19-year-old kid. He definitely did not deserve to be crushed by tons and tons of water.
That sucks.
So anyway, Ghost in the Shell. Speaking of water,
speaking
there's
of
so
ghosts
much water in this movie.
Speaking of ghosts in a
the
shell.
Water elements.
Yeah, there's so many elements of water.
I have notes that literally just says water element alert.
You just wrote water, like a crazy person in a hotel.
That's me every time in the hotel.
So Cass, because you're our guest this week, why don't you go ahead and tell us about your first time watching the movie The Ghost in the Shell, 1995?
Absolutely. Well, Steven, I don't know if you know this, but the first time I watched this movie was on Monday night, and it was with you. Because we had to do this podcast.
That was you?
It was me. I was in
my
your
cybernetic
living room.
brain must have been glitching.
And it was really cool. I feel like I'm relatively new to the cyberpunk world in the sense that I didn't grow up with animes in my life other than Pokemon and Sailor Moon and Studio Ghibli. And so up until, Cyberpunk, 20, what is it? The video game,
2077.
2077. And I also played the tabletop as well, the RPG. It's still new in my brain. So I got to watch this for the first time and really kind of take almost like the immediate initial concepts of what cyberpunk is and what the future could possibly look like with all this technology. It was amazing. And the first time, honestly, watching it, I just tried my best to understand it, knowing that I would have to watch it a second time to fully get it. There were so many, like, I don't know, theories and thought pieces that were happening based off of, you know, philosophers from years past that you could just see bleeding into the script and into the animation itself. So, and then I watched it again on Wednesday, which was yesterday night, and it was amazing. I think it's
Now you're an
a really great piece.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that, but it is something that I think people should see more than once because I think there's a lot of meat
I
in there.
definitely agree with you. This movie I've seen several times, and I still, even watching it on Monday, I was like, I should probably watch this again at some point this week, just to focus on just Bato and like what is Bato's like philosophy on the world. And you're
what
like,
a cool character.
Yeah.
I feel like every character had their own philosophy itself, right? Like there were a bunch of pieces moving in tandem, and it was great. I loved it. What about you guys?
Why don't we go to Jason next? Jason, why don't you tell us about the first time you watched The Ghost in the Shell?
When I was probably 11, there was I used to buy Wizard magazine. I've talked about this on the show a few times as it pertains, especially when we're talking about Akira. And in that magazine, it was mostly about comic books, and in the back there was like a comic book price guide. It would have there would also be like a section that would be like called Japanimation, because back then it was called Japanimation, obviously short to anime, and there was a holy trinity of animes that you had to see, and I would end up seeing all of them by the time I was probably 15 or 16, and those of course are Akira, Ninja Scroll, and Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell would have been the newest one, because when I was 11, it was 96, this movie had only been out for about a year. It was readily available at Blockbuster. It was pretty easy to find, which was great, and that was sort of when that whole craze started. And shortly after that, of course, you mentioned Pokemon and Sailor Moon Coming to the West, and then I kind of would go down that road. When it comes to this exact movie, I probably watched it once on Showcase, because they used to show it on Showcase around the late 90s. And then, I think much later, when I got back into anime, probably when I was 22, I got super into like Naruto and Bleach and the bigger animes that are sort of still around now. I watched it again, and it blew my mind all over again. And I watched it for the first time since then. It's been almost 20 years since I saw it last. But I remembered all of the scenes, like I remembered all of the visuals. Didn't remember how heady a movie it was. I fully forgot that it wasn't just a wild action movie with crazy guns and robots, but it's actually sort of a philosophical exploration of like what it means to be a human. Which I was like, I usually watch these parts of these movies anyway while I'm in the office. On lunch. I put it on for my lunch break. I'm eating lunch, watching the movie, and I'm sitting there going like, this is way too heavy for... I was mentioning at the top of the show...
An 11-year-old?
Yeah. Exactly.
Also that.
But also like at 12 o'clock on a Wednesday, like 12 noon. And I just went through like a pretty significant family event. I don't want to get into it, but that was part of it too. Like I was already pretty emotional. So I'm just like... sitting at my desk, and it felt like one of those moments where I'm like watching the movie and everything around me is just whizzing by, those scenes in movies where it's like slow motion or normal motion for me and everything's just whizzing around me. I sort of had a really like kind of an existential crisis watching it.
What does it mean to be a human?
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's, I feel like, exactly what they're going for, right? So it kind of, maybe that's perfect.
Yeah. And that's basically my history with the movie. It's going to be one that we're going to have a difficult time talking about surface level. It's going to get deep, I think. It's because the plot's very like pretty basic, and it's only 82 minutes right? There's not a whole lot.
I bet you loved that, didn't you?
I loved it. Cass, this is something I tell all the guests, and I tell these guys week after week. The shorter the movie, the better. I understand that a 2-hour movie is like a standard feature length, but oh my god, like sometimes a 2-hour movie from the 80s is just too much. It's just too much. And that's my history with Ghost in the Shell.
Hey, I'm of the opinion that a 3-hour movie can feel like an 80-minute movie if it's a good movie.
That's true.
And it depends on pacing and writing, right?
That's absolutely true as well. This movie has like weird pacing too, but we'll get into that.
Yes, Kaylin, why don't you continue the journey for us here? When's the first time you watched this frickin' movie with a naked lady as a robot who can go invisible and stuff?
Speaking of naked ladies, so just to kind of preface with my first kind of experience with the movie.
God, I don't know if I want to hear this story.
There were naked ladies involved, for sure.
I started a strip club. This is a cyberpunk themed strip club.
Hey, I'd go to that. That sounds awesome.
Probably around 25 years ago, though, like shortly after 95. And where I'm from, we had three kind of main movie rental places. So there was Jumbo Video and Blockbuster, which was kind of like your Canadian franchise and your American franchise.
And then we had
Video Difference. Now, Video Difference was the shit because they had the offbeat, not your typical kind of stuff that are just kind of like, because Blockbuster had all kinds of copies of like a certain thing or whatever, but Video Difference had a wider selection of different things.
Kaylin, just sorry to cut you off, but just to give some context, they had an LGBTQ section, and they also had a section that was like box sets of TV shows. Before Blockbuster carried that kind of stuff. So this was a very special
on VHS too.
On
it
VHS,
would be like a front
yeah. Sorry, Kaylin, go ahead. We're from the same place.
Every episode of I Love Lucy or some shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
But so my first experience was in Video Difference and seeing the cover, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it said contains nudity, and I'm kind of surprised that I didn't actually watch this movie until this past weekend for this week's episode, and every day since. I watched it. I was immediately captivated by it, but also it was a little like I had to watch it again to get my mind around exactly what was going on as far as like the technical aspects of it. And we'll get into that as we go, but that was my experience in history with this movie.
Wow, what a tale.
Ooh,
such a long tale for you saying I watched it last week for the first time.
Well, you know how I like to convolute things.
Yeah, you're a convo flautist. Let's move on to me. The first time I saw this movie, I was trying to date somebody in high school, and I was in the same art class as them, and we were talking about movies and stuff a whole bunch, and this movie came up, and she was like,
"Hey, did you see this one?"
Yeah, I said that, and then I had like my nose started bleeding, and I had a vision of this moment right now, and me being like, "Why the fuck is Kaylin going to interrupt me when I'm telling my story in the future?" And then I blew up. She blows up at the end when she like flexes too hard.
Yeah,
that happened to me in my art class. But so I was like, oh, I've never seen it. I'd heard of it, and I know I had seen bits and pieces of it on like you, Jason, on Showcase and stuff when I was younger. But Ninja Scroll and this and Akira always kind of freaked me out a little bit when I was a kid. Like you'd see boobs and you'd be like, whoa, boobs. And then you'd be like, oh my God, everything's so gross. Like people are getting their heads turned around and skin is ripping open and you're seeing bone. And so I wouldn't watch it all because it was too off-putting for me. But so I decided like that was my opportunity to be like, why don't we rent it? And then you can come over and we'll watch it. And then we did. And then I dated that person for a year. So that was the first time I watched it. And I don't really remember a lot of it from that viewing experience, but I do.
Yeah.
Kaylin, we were children, you pervert. I don't remember a lot of it, but I do remember the visuals being extremely striking. Like I remember that opening fight scene in the puddle. It's not actually the opening scene. That's like almost like fucking half an hour into the movie. Yeah. But it feels like the beginning of the movie. And I remember the stuff near the end with like the intense music playing and all that. But yeah, it was the first time seeing it. It kind of, a lot of it went over my head as to what was happening, what they were talking about, what the plot was. Not because I had busy fingers like that melting Conan O'Brien guy, but just because I was confused. I was like, what the fuck's happening in this movie? And then I watched it a couple of times between then and now. I did another date with this movie as well. Kissed My First Boy. Ooh.
It's your move.
That's a tale for another time. Yeah. Let's rent Ghost in the Shell and we'll both be confused and kiss. And then
this movie's so confusing. I have to kiss another boy.
Yeah. And then, you know, I hadn't watched it in a very long time until we watched it this week. And I gotta say, I was still a little bit confused, but I was able to kind of wrap my head around the philosophy of what they were talking about at this point. And I'm glad that we can now hop into that discussion now that we've all got our introductions out of the way. So let's move in to the talk about.
I have a quick question.
Oh God, what is
immediately?
Jason, has this been your favorite opening credits of the movies we've done so far?
Listen, the more stuff that's happening during the opening credits, the better. I definitely enjoyed this one.
All right, that's
just when she's being made, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm like, what's happening? It is cool,
but that's
also
iconic.
That's the thing I love about the implication of these cyborgs is that they just kind of, it's like the skin suits in what's that show on Netflix where the two different
carbon something
yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Carbon, similar to Westworld, similar to Domino's,
I always want to call it carbon fiber, but it's not. It's altered carbon.
Altered carbon.
Yeah. That has that had a live when I watched.
Not to be confused with George Carlin's stand-up special, Altered Carlin,
where he just does a tight 90 on fucking.
No, it's just his head in a jar, and he's like, you know the one thing you can't say in the future.
The 16 words you can't say. Fuck, shit, piss, come.
Or it's just him from Bill and Ted.
Yeah. Or it's just him from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Oh God,
yes.
All right.
Altered Carbon was the first time I got to see that like live action. This is why I'm curious about the live action Ghost in the Shell. We're not going to talk about it here. We had a conversation beforehand, and none of us have seen it, so we're not going to talk about it.
I have.
Kaylin has seen it. We're not going to talk about it.
I've seen it too.
Steve has fallen asleep.
Steve fell asleep
7 times.
I still seen it though. My ears were listening.
Jupiter's Legacy is the same thing for me. I've seen it, but I've fallen asleep 4 times trying to watch
Jupiter Rising?
Jupiter,
like the Wachowski movie?
Yeah, is it Jupiter Rising?
I think so. Yeah.
That was Jupiter's Legacy. Was that a video?
Isn't there like 3 of them?
I don't care.
No.
There's I just wanted to see somebody get created in one of those vats, and that show does it very well. So that's another thing that I'm curious to see in the live action version. Now, this opening credit sequence, this is iconic, man. I loved.
Listen, Jason, if you want to see Scarlett Johansson naked, you can just tell us.
I mean,
also Under the Skin.
Whatever.
So good.
We watched that right afterwards, and it was
a good double feature, honestly. Like,
Grindhouse.
It was very good.
Not to derail, but yeah, I agree. I think the opening credits of this movie are pretty amazing, and it also sets up a lot of the heady ideas that you don't even really know you're going to be confronted with throughout the movie. You know, like the main question that, you know, I think is the easiest question that this movie proposes to us, which is, what does it mean to be human?
What is a soul?
What is a soul versus what is a ghost? The ghost in the shell is obviously representation of your soul, and the shell is your body. You know, obviously that's a simple sort of connection you can make, but she has this struggle between like, do I have a ghost or do I have a soul? Is it the same thing? And do we create ghosts out of souls? Did you have to have a soul in order to have a ghost, or is a ghost something else? And then as the movie kind of treks forward, you realize that, oh no, a ghost does not necessarily need to be a remnant of a soul. It can also be created out of, echoes of a million different other things.
Have any of you seen the new season of Black Mirror yet?
I haven't started it.
I don't have Netflix anymore.
So there's an episode called Beyond the Sea. I don't want to spoil anything, but like, never mind.
But like,
I don't want to spoil anything, so never mind.
Yeah. But this movie has been obviously heavily influenced, like the Wachowskis, but even James Cameron has said multiple times throughout his career that like The Ghost in the Shell is one of the triumphs of cinema and storytelling that he holds close, and he uses as a source for inspiration as well. And you can even see stuff like in Avatar 2. Has everyone seen it? I don't want to spoil anything.
That movie sucked.
Kaylin, can we mute Kaylin for that
I liked
episode?
Avatar 2, and I hate the first Avatar, and I was like, fuck that movie, I hate that movie, I'll hate it. And then I saw it in high definition resolution, and it blew my brain out of the back of my head. Yeah. So
I also think that you were a contrarian, Jason. You didn't actually hate it, you just hated it because everyone liked it.
No, I don't like the first Avatar movie. I legitimately saw it before people yelled about movies on the internet so hard.
No. Anyway, James Cameron says that this movie is one of his favorites, and I was watching the second Avatar the other day, and there's the moment where like the pirate guy, or he's not a pirate, but he's like a whaler. He gets his arm kind of caught between like the tether, and you're like, oh, his arm's gonna go, and then it like the whole boat gets destroyed, and you just see his arm like flying.
I will say,
and it's very much like a when the limbs get blown off in this movie. It reminded me a lot of that moment.
I will say, I wasn't going to bring up the Final Fantasy thing because it's kind of obvious, much like the Matrix is obvious, but there's some imagery in this that is straight out of that was redone in Final Fantasy, especially towards the end when that angel is like coming, the feathers, and then the angel comes down.
The helicopter.
That is
the helicopter that's shaped like a bird, and
that is used
like a whale and a bird plane.
That is used again as Sephiroth comes down to do a pivotal moment in that game. And then also it's whole
homage, guys. It's called homage.
Sorry. They pay homage
or homage,
to it.
I guess, if you want to be a pervert about it.
The whole game of Final Fantasy 13 takes place in like a futuristic kind of society that where basically what happens is you get marked, and then if you don't fulfill a job. Now, it's not really a job. It's more like you have to fulfill a destiny. It's kind of convoluted, like this movie. You get turned into this like soulless beast, but it's said that your like spirit is still inside. So it really encompasses that whole like notion of like what does it mean to be a person? Like if you're just a robot with somebody else's like ghost inside you, then like, are you a human? Are you a robot? And if another are you a copy? And if another robot comes along and says, hey, I want you to have my robot software babies, I'll disappear, but you'll be both of us. What does that even mean? Can you guys explain it to me? Because
evolution. That sounds like evolution to me.
I've seen this movie probably 5 times over the years, and I've never really like been able to wrap my head. And the last couple of days watching it, like paying attention, focusing, taking notes, I'm still like,
what? It's digital sex is what it is. Digital reproduction.
Yeah, basically.
Copy and paste, baby.
No, not copy and paste. No.
Cut and paste.
Oh, what's the code word for Rails this week?
Rails.
I don't know. I don't think we've gone too far off the rails yet, so don't worry about it. Well, I mean, we're introduced to the sort of main characters of this movie right away. We see them sort of like setting up for a job, and we're not really sure what that job's going to be, but we are introduced to these businessmen, I suppose. And I don't know if we want to go like beat for beat through this movie because there's a lot of stuff that happens, but we get our first sort of taste of the violence and sort of the callousness of the main character. What's her name? Her name's Motoko.
Motoko.
Yeah.
Major
Kusanagi.
Kusanagi.
Or the Major. I like when they just call her Major.
Yeah, the
she's
Major.
majorly rules.
It's true.
Yeah, the her creation, it's implied that it's her, but it could also just be a model of her. I'm inclined to believe that it is her, but yes.
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So I was watching this also on Wednesday, and I was really thinking this opening scene. And so we open right with an amazing, oh my god, the visuals in this movie are great. We like fall out of code into reality, and
Yeah.
we have this amazing moment of like Motoko or the major falling down. There's like the diplomat, he's making deals, she's shooting him through the head, living life, and she continues to fall, does her whole camouflage moment. She falls, and we don't see her. The next time we see her is when she is being made, right? She's like going through the whole process of her whole body being put together. I have a mini theory that is actually right after that death, or that body death. Because
so
right after
that
that,
mission,
she then wakes up in her like condo or whatever in the darkness. She like looks at her hand, kind of gives like a little bit of a smirk, and then goes about her day, leaves the room in darkness. So I think, hear me out, this ties into the diving scene, which I will get to later, I'm sure, where she goes under the water. Droids aren't supposed to be in water, or cyborgs aren't supposed to be in water. They drown. But
Jason, I just realized you're not recording.
That's okay.
Sorry.
No.
Okay.
No. She basically has the same moment in her diving state that reflects the exact same imagery that you
recording in progress.
Where got it. You get the same imagery where she, when she was being made, kind of was like in this fetal position, kind of like this rebirth moment, coming up to the surface. Same thing when she's diving. So I was talking to my partner about it. He was like, it's really interesting that they would show that in the same way, because she just survived the last mission ship that she did. It's almost like she's trying to recreate the moment where she's so used to her body just being discarded and being dead, but she's not. And it's like almost like a trauma response maybe, or some kind of recreation of like, yes, I'm still alive, but I still want to experience that rebirth sensation. So I'm going to go throw myself in the ocean and dive and come back. Like, it's just like all of these mirrors in this movie are so beautifully done. It's incredible.
Anyway, it's also implied by Bato that she does that all the time, right?
Yeah.
That's not the first time she's gone down and just sat there floating. Like, so, and it seems like it's a ritual thing, like you're saying. So maybe she is used to, like exactly everything you just said. Like, she is used to getting her body blown to pieces, and then they just put her in a new one.
And like at the end of the movie too, like trying to like pull this tank apart and just not caring about what's happening to her body, because it doesn't matter. It can be replaced.
Somebody in the chat here, direct eye contact, is saying the visualization of how a person with cybernetic implants can shift between the virtual world of the computer to the real world of the humans on your last thing that you were saying at the beginning. But then now they're talking about how she's floating, like she did when her consciousness was floating in the void of the net, is like floating in the womb, right? And a float tank is like a place of meditation, right? So, or like you can have that kind of thing, or a what's it called?
Sensory deprivation tank.
Sensory deprivation tank, right? So
it's a subconscious kind of comfort in a way, because we're all born into this world in that state. It's like a weird, like, I don't know.
It's like being asleep, but also being awake at the same time to experience the sensation of
It's interesting.
Sleep.
It's interesting that humans don't have any memory because our brain doesn't come online until much later. But I would imagine that cyborgs, like, this is pure conjecture and pure theory, but wouldn't they just be immediately online? Kind of like how like when clones are made, they're just fully grown adults. They're just
Well, they also say that her cyber brain is comprised of actual brain as well. Like, it's not just a fully cybernetic brain. It has actual like neurons that are from a real brain. So she has some humanity that
she's trying to find.
Right? Yeah, and her and Bato, like, they kind of go back and forth throughout the movie of like what it means to be real, and they question each other's philosophies over and over again. And his is very much like the Isaac Asimov sort of like, I think therefore I am kind of
I agree, but I think that Motoko is actually more that. I think that
but she's questioning it though. She's like, am I
yes.
just because I'm thinking, does that mean that I am human or am I a ghost? Like, was I once a human? Like, she's not really questioning whether or not she's like an individual, but she is questioning what it means to be a person.
Yeah.
It's again, it's an intense thing, and I don't think that we get an answer throughout the movie. You know,
like, it's all about thinking about it, right? Yeah, it's not about an answer.
I'm wondering if the subsequent movies that come after this, I wonder if they explain it more, or if we just end up getting a bloated, just it becomes more anime. Because this feels very special. It feels very deliberate. It feels very much like the writer's trying to say something. And then it becomes a cultural phenomenon, right? And then they start churning out
cash grab
movies. That's a cash grab. That's
a cash grab. Cass, can you do me a favor and check to make sure that your Yeti is actually the microphone that you're using right now? On like just go to the just click the little microphone there, and it should say select microphone.
Doing a little check. This is the
it's doing it.
Is it okay?
Yeah. Would you rather me use a different microphone?
No, it's just it doesn't seem like you're getting louder when you get closer, so I'm just like, is it? What's going on?
Oh, well, I have like my different settings. I might have it on like me also playing guitar at the same time, and it might just be the angle of it.
It's totally fine. We can hear you fine. It's just we're getting some room ambience as well, so I'm like, But anyway, don't worry about it.
Well, now I'm gonna worry about it.
Oh God, why did I say anything?
Inception.
Kalen's on a cell phone, so fucking whatever.
I know, that's true. Yeah. If Kalen yells too loud, his microphone just stops working.
Yeah.
Which happens a lot.
I get excited easily.
Yeah.
I wanted honestly, if it helps, I can just plug probably my headphones directly in.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I just listen, it sounds fine. It's
just let me know.
I was Steven. Like, but could it sound better? You know, that's what all I was thinking.
Steven, are you a Predacon? Do I see a Predacon mug over there?
No. I'm a Decepticon.
Turns into
damn, that's what I meant. I was thinking, damn, fucked up.
Are they the Beast Boys?
Yeah, Beast Wars is Predacon, Decepticon is Transformers. I fucked up.
It's okay, Kalen. We forgive you. Let's move on to sort of the next big set piece. Instead of going through like beat for beat, let's hit the set pieces. I think that the use of the city, and I think the use of their sort of like their cleverness in terms of like storytelling and having things be interesting and cool without it being like too difficult to understand is balancing very delicately with understanding what's happening in the plot. So like I'll be watching a scene and be like, I know what's happening, but I don't know why or who cares about why it's happening. Like those are the issues that I'm having. So the garbage truck, I think it's super cool and interesting that these guys are being paid by some shadowy figure to essentially hack, but they can't hack in one place for too long. So they've got these garbage guys to do it, so like they can do it while they're going along their garbage route. So every 7 minutes they're basically changing their location to continue the hack. So it's very cool. It reminds me of like a mission that you would have to track somebody in Cyberpunk, like a video game or something, you know, like they keep moving and then you realize like, wait a minute, they're on a garbage route. And like, so you slowly sort of kind of are piecing it together. Or like Watch Dogs or something, you know, like any of those video games where you're having to deal with hackers.
Also, what happens to this poor guy is a kind of a mind fuck.
Pretty crazy.
It's tragic.
Because the whole time while they're tracking him down, he keeps trying to like tell this other dude about his family and show him the picture, and the guy's like, I don't care about other people's photographs.
I have a question about that. Yeah. You all rewatched it right away. Is there any indication that when he shows, because I was thinking about this after, I was like, did he show him the picture a bunch of times?
The guy does not give a shit, and he's like,
he just doesn't care.
We don't see it when he shows the other guy. We don't see what he's showing him until later on when
it's a selfie of him with a dog.
Yeah,
it makes it so sad.
Sad.
Also, the on rewatch, he has a bit of a dead eye look, like he's like he is kind of hacked or whatever.
Yeah,
which I assume is deliberate.
That's cool.
My only question is, if they were hacked, right? They're in the moment. Why would they, after realizing they were being tracked by the police, would they then skip a stop on their route. I just think that maybe even though they were hacked, they were still a little bit dumb.
Yeah.
It'll immediately give you away.
I mean, the one guy was not part of it, right? Like the guy who was just like, I'm just doing my job. And then the other guy who had the photograph and had his memories altered. I think that guy also had like a little bit of, because his whole memory has been altered. They probably put something else in there to be like, if you get tracked, then just cheese it, get the frick out of there. It's not confirmed or denied that that's the point, but like the way he's speaking is about everything is very robotic. And I watched the English dub as well as the original audio edit. And the English dub, they make this guy so like cartoonish in his like dialogue. He's like, yep, me and my family can't wait to go hang out with my family. And the other guy's like, what the hell are you talking about, man? Like, let's just get the garbage and go.
So on that subject, I wanted to keep better track of it, but then I realized I got a little lost in the sauce trying to like listen to what they were saying and then read but the best difference I think is the subtitles say Motoko saying must be a loose wire, and the dub saying it must be that time of the month.
Yeah, I think it's just that time of the month. Yeah.
What?
She also implies later that like, because she's hearing the ghost at that point, right? She's hearing the echo, and she implies that she hears it every once in a while. So like, it's like she's calling her ghost attack like her period. It's like, no, it's just my period. Every time I hear some crazy deep voiced man in my head, just my period, my ghost period. That's a real thing.
My period in this
happens.
Period in the show.
Happens to the best of us. I had it the other day.
No, it's like if you have an IUD, you don't get a period, but you'll get like a ghost period. So you'll have like certain effects of a period, but like not the typical ones, right?
It's just rude. Rude and inconsiderate, I find.
Would you get a chip in your head that would stop the period if it was possible?
Oh my God, I would. I would also get a chip in my head to constantly be able to play music like from any kind of device because I lose my headphones all the time. And it drives me insane. It's like my safety blanket. I'm like, if I don't have my headphones and music, not a safe space.
Well, from what I know, it's like it stops the physical attributes of a period, but you can still get like mood changes a little bit.
Mood
you'll
changes,
get like depression.
You get one super period. You get one super period once a year, right? That's how it works.
Yeah. and it lasts
sex education on this
month.
Podcast, everybody. We know the facts.
Yeah. And it's like like in the Evil Dead when he opens the hole in the wall and it's just like it's a very very heavy flow month.
Oh my God.
Anyway, this is gross. How did this do? This is our first guest. Come on, guys.
Yeah. It was bound to happen.
Yeah.
We're all immature. We don't know what to do. I'm married to a woman, but I don't know how to act around women.
This sounds like I'm friends with a woman. I swear.
I swear
to God, my best friend's a woman.
My best friend is a woman. She's like, stop talking.
I'm not a woman. How dare you say that about me?
Sorry to tell you.
Oh, dang it.
Hi, Madison.
She's not here.
Okay, so this is where we get our first sort of like our first sort of bananas action sequence, and our secondary sort of costume change for the Major, which she has like an outfit or a suit or a body armor for every single occasion. Like she's not just wearing the same thing throughout, which I think is such a cool touch, because a lot of movies and shows and stuff, it's like, I think with the exception of Iron Man, like all the superheroes in every movie you ever watch, they always have the same uniform or outfit for like the whole movie.
MCU is pretty good about it though. Like Thor has a different updated costume.
But for every movie, but like this is one movie and she has like 10 different outfits. And like what I say Iron Man because I think in Iron Man 3 he's like hopping from Iron Man suit to Iron Man suit. It's cool and fun to watch, but he'll sometimes use different Iron Man suits throughout one movie, right? Like I equate it to that.
Because he's
Batman. And we get this guy who's wearing who I was like, hey, it's Kalen. Like the guy who she's chasing, I was like, this guy looks like Kalen. When you have like a more cropped beard and your hair sort of
and my hair short,
yeah, kind of looked like Kalen.
Speaking of, just to add on to what you were saying there, when I was a kid,
yeah,
I wanted, like, because you watch cartoons, whatever, they always wear the same thing. And I wanted to just have I think it was an episode of Doug. He opens his closet and he just has hangers of the exact same outfit. I was like, oh, that's brilliant. I want that.
I think The Simpsons made that gag too.
And Inspector Gadget and every cartoon ever made, ever. But also...
And Pepper
Ann. But you know what movie did it, which is like, you would never expect. Does anyone know, other than me?
One sec.
Sounds familiar.
And it's not a comedy movie at all.
Oh,
not The Truman Show.
Oh, The Fly.
Yes, Caleb, you got it. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Jeff Goldblum opens his closet to get dressed, and he has the exact same clothes, like for
less
the entire
things to
closet.
think about, or something like that.
Yeah, he's like, I just wear the same thing every day. And his like girlfriend's like, why? And he's like, I don't have to think about it.
That was a really good micro impression of Jeff Goldblum, by the way.
Well, it's young Jeff Goldblum before he got super weird. He was just in a movie where he turns into a fly. That's not super weird,
Life
right?
all finds a way, and I'm a fly now.
Yeah. Anyway,
Buzz.
So I think we all would love to just wear the same clothes every day, but we can't. Society thinks it's weird when you do that.
The person in the chat said Free Guy, which I guess is technically correct, because I think there's a scene in that where Free Guy opens the closet because he's an NPC. Yeah, because he's an NPC in a GTA world.
But that's another thing, right? Like video game characters and stuff. When if you're in an open world game and like Grand Theft Auto 5, like all the other, like secondary characters other than you, every time you see them, they're wearing the same clothes.
I've just started Final Fantasy 16, and I'm bummed out that even though it's a current generation video game, you put on new bits of armor, but none of it actually changes. Your sword changes, which is cool, but like that's fucking old hat now. I feel like every modern role-playing game,
it's just his same costume?
I think it's going to do that Final Fantasy thing where like halfway through the game you're going to get like a crazy set of armor or something.
0 out of 10.
Yeah, Steve, you're going to hate elements of this game, but god damn it, it's fucking
Listen,
good.
If I change my socks in a video game, I want to see, like, even Stardew Valley, I can change my boots.
Plug your ears if you don't want to get spoiled on this game, but fucking let's just say Icon Kaiju Battles. Boom. Game of the year.
I don't know.
Beat that, Elden Ring.
All right, Rails. I'm calling it Rails.
Okay.
So we get our first taste of mega action, which is Major and Bato. They get sort of like blindsided by this tertiary hacker guy, and he uses a gun that is way too powerful to be able to do what it did. But apparently, he's using special bullets. I think they say, but I can't really remember. And it just like blows up their car. Like he just like it's so powerful that the gun is like making him go backwards like as he's shooting it.
Also, what a cool animation. That was amazing to watch. Just like him just moving back as the gun keeps shooting. So cool.
This whole sequence of events is like the reason I find it so difficult to watch this movie with subtitles sometimes is because I get so enamored with the animation and the beautiful paintings and how they'll have like 3 paintings moving to create depth and stuff. And I'm just like, whoa, look at the scaffolding on that thing. Yes, Kaylin, go ahead.
I know this is the case sometimes, but when they do panning shots in animation, it's like a really big picture, right? And they're just like framing a part of it. Is that always the case though? Or are they potentially animating each frame of panning? Do you know what I mean?
Sometimes. So for example, they'll have like a matte painting in the background that's moving really slowly, right? And then they'll have a smaller one in front of that that's moving slightly quicker. And then they'll have like a highway. Yeah. And because the car is on the highway will be moving, so the highway will also be animated. Right. But very rarely is the entire room going to be animated during a sequence.
Right.
Just because it would be crazy it would take months for like,
and I feel like it would look more
30 seconds.
It would probably look more choppy, sort of, if you were to try to paint, like if you were trying to manually.
Yeah, and it's also because you'll even in Akira they did it a couple times, but when you watch it, it's jarring to you because you're so used to all the backgrounds being painted and very painterly, and the characters being the thing that kind of like sits on top of. It's almost like Jason, your example of how older CGI sits on top of the backgrounds a lot of the time,
right?
Except in anime and even Disney movies and stuff, you're used to the character standing out from the backgrounds and everything else looking very painterly,
super
like someone
old
took time.
Disney movies in HD touch-ups kind of have that.
I feel like I did not take a breath during that whole explanation.
I stopped you. I stopped you so you didn't fall
Yeah.
over and die right in the middle of an explanation.
Yeah.
But if you watch like Snow White in like 4K, it has that same kind of weird, the flat background and then the.
Yeah, but I'm talking more like the movies, Disney movies that were made around the same time as this, right?
Oh
Like, so
yeah,
like
okay.
Beauty and the Beast or Little Mermaid or something. Like
Aladdin.
You'll have a lot of movement and action happening with the characters, but you will have those paintings in the background. And like actually, if you look into the technical aspects of how they used to do it before computers and stuff, they'd have like they'd paint on glass panels, and then they would place the panels on top of one another and have a camera that like a massive camera that shoots through all the panels, and they would just film the background movement after the fact. So they would figure out the character movement, and then they would have all these glass panels moving to create that motion.
That's awesome.
As they shot through all of it.
That's a good point. I was trying to figure out how there's a cool scene towards the end where the helicopter's going and it's moving real slow, but
you mean the sky whale?
The sky whale, but
or the sky shark or whatever we were calling it.
The blades, the motion of the blades looks so like realistic, and I was like, do they just like shine a light behind a painting with like a thinly painted parts, and then they just go like this with a light behind it or something? I know that's simple,
so. Yeah.
But I know that's incredibly simple, but it must be some sort of
I don't
trick.
have the answer for you. I feel like I should. I have seen some pretty heady breakdown videos of Akira and how they accomplished effects like that, but I haven't seen any for this movie.
There's also like when they're driving, really well done anime has, especially these like cyberpunk, have the lights of the city like coming up over the hood and over their faces, and it looks like it's very of the genre to do that, because they're driving through these metropolises with crazy skyscrapers, everything's neon signs all over the place, so you gotta show that. And Cyberpunk 2077 does it really well too, but that game is a technical marvel, graphic visually, much like these old animes are. So there's just those, like, the animation in this and Akira are just unparalleled. You don't get that anymore.
Yep.
Because it's not hand painted anymore.
Yeah.
Hand drawn.
Yeah, unfortunately, the craft has become too expensive.
Like, if you go back and watch the original series of Berserk and then watch the like remakes that they made that are like sort of 2D CG hybrid, they just kind of look kind of gross.
It's turned into
muddy.
Anime used to be something special to me when I was younger because I was so blown away by the animation. There was like a very significant portion of my life where I thought that I was going to be a 2D animator. Like, I wanted to draw and animate. And then I realized how fucking tedious it is. It's like, no, thank you. But so I learned and I studied and I figured out how everything works. And to see that craft sort of like have to go away because of just time consumption and how much it costs to employ people to do this kind of thing, it's just not feasible anymore. And it sucks, and it's like, I was talking to you guys about the Nick Fury intro this week for the show. I heard
it was created by AI.
Yeah, that's the point that I was about to make.
Spoilers and also disappointment.
AI, the intro, like the credits, intro credits of the Marvel shows, they use the AI to create it, and it's just like sad. Like, it doesn't look terrible to me. I know a lot of people are complaining about it, but I was just like, the fact that it was not created by artists in the traditional sense makes me like...
Is it because of the writer's strike, or is it paying homage?
Go ahead, Cass. I'm not sure, actually.
Sorry, I just want to make sure you guys can hear me, because I feel like my mic wasn't working for a second.
I think you were...
We can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. Shit.
Okay, cool. I wanted to touch in on the point of the animation you're talking about as well. It's not only that hand-drawn animation is so beautiful to look at, but because it takes so much time and so much money to do, every single shot that you see in an animation like this is for a reason. Every single shot is to forward the plot or the theme or to add something to a character. And it's not only because of like the aspect that it's beautiful, you can also like subconsciously understand that like this is important. They put time and money into doing that to make it look cool and also for you to pay attention. And I think that's just really beautiful.
I just remembered something from our watch that I didn't bring up, and I'm gonna write it down. But it's at the end of the movie, so I don't want to talk about it right now.
Did you, Cass? Were you saying? I was listening to Steve, and I wasn't looking at your window. But is there anything else you wanted to say that you might have missed saying? Also, if you feel like,
let me look through my 3 pages of notes.
Also, if you feel like, just start talking and we'll stop. You're the guest.
You don't need to raise your hand or anything. We do. Yeah.
Well, I will say, I have noted multiple times in my little notes of when I have water elements coming up in the themes. So the first one I have was written down in the first scene, which obviously is this kind of like rebirth moment in the iconic opening. The second one we have is actually in this fight with the thug in the alleyway. So we see like this puddle that he's walking through. This whole fight takes place in this water. And it's really cool. It's also, I feel like, so symbolic of water in general, is like used in a bunch of like religions and like philosophy of like still water is like dead or it's poison, like animals don't go to it, it's still water. But then you have these moments like in this kind of rainy city scene where it's moving and it's life, and it's usually Motoko, like she's looking at possibly a mirror of herself. Is it her real self? Is it another one of her? She's looking at mannequins in like a shop window, and then all of a sudden it starts to rain. And it's like all of these little moments of water elements just blending into this overall story that you don't notice on the first watch.
Yeah, even what you said about like still water being, like never drink still water is just like a rule that has been ingrained into human beings. Like even if you're as thirsty as you can be, it's worse poison than drinking salt water. Yeah. But this moment with the thug, he's going through the city and he's walking by all these still water puddles, and they fight in a still water puddle, but they're in a section of the city that looks like it's dead. Like it was like in the middle of growing, and then it just died. Like it didn't get enough of what it needed in order to become what it was meant to be. Because it doesn't look like it was built and was destroyed. It looks like it was being built and then it was abandoned, and nobody finished what they were there to start, kind of thing. Right?
For sure. And then you also get like these like shots as well of like this muddy water and like discarded garbage that also looks like mechanical garbage that's been thrown away, like a DVD player or like part of a car or whatever. Yeah, and it's just floating along this dead, muddy, gross water. It's amazing.
The grime in this movie is my favorite thing about this movie, because you get when you see the wide shots of the city, you just see city. But when they're in those alleyways and then you get a person on a background that's like a wall with a whole bunch of old posters, and then you see the ground and it's all grimy and dirty, and like you said, there's just like old tech everywhere. That stuff, that's what I like. I don't like it to be clean and sleek. I like a lived-in world, but I especially like a cyberpunk world that feels gross to look at, quite frankly.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that Akira did that well too, but I think it was too focused on the sci-fi technology element to really get grimy. And this is sort of the other side of the coin, This is how gross the world. This was through a lens of the early 90s. There's parts of the world that look like this now, with all that you saying the like CD player bit like really struck a nerve with me, because like all that old technology in these bigger cities, especially in like China, right? Like it's just in like places in India, there's just all these hills of old computers, and I think it's well represented in this film.
I also think it's really interesting too, like if you put yourself in the mindset of Motoko, who is questioning their humanity. How much am I human? How much am I robot or AI or whatever I am? And walking around a city where you just see discarded technology everywhere you go, and you're also slightly used as a tool, as a war machine, as whatever you are useful as, like that must hit her psyche in such a crazy way of being like, oh, that maybe could have been used as my arm or my eyeball, and it's garbage. It's garbage.
Maybe that's what they'll do to her afterwards, kind of
right
thing.
Yeah.
I mean, spoilers, they kind of do. They literally just extract her head and plopping on a new body. Those
in still water, by the way.
Yeah.
Death water.
I do want to add right quick though, before we get to that water fight scene and everything, we have what I can't. Maybe it was the very opening sequence, or like not the very open, like within the opening sequence when we have the two guys in the elevator, and we get a shot from behind them in the elevator, looking out over the city, and the shot itself looks great, but then it also is a great way to save money because you don't have to like animate their faces talking. You're just seeing their backs as they talk, which was a nice
classic
little, like,
Kalen, always thinking about the bottom dollar.
No, but I think that's such a beautiful thing about like hand-drawn animation too. Like you have to take shortcuts. You don't have a choice. Like you can't draw every single thing. You don't have time.
Them talking to each other inside their heads. Genius.
It's like watching like old Doctor Who and seeing like Dalek cutouts. They're just cardboard cutouts, and they're like, that's fine. People's imagination will like fill in the gaps.
Fill it in, yeah.
It is cool though. It's like, it is maybe helping them to save on having to animate stuff and save a lot of time. But it also is just a cool thing. Like not necessarily the elevator shot. Yeah, but like them not having to move their mouths when they're talking. Just the idea that they can communicate through this sort of like interconnected network in their head is like, that's a cool thing. Like, oh yeah, they're cyborgs. They wouldn't have to put their hand up to their ear and be like, what do you mean? It's just like, no, what do you mean? And they can just talk calmly, collectedly. They don't have to like be freaking out in their own minds. So yeah, they're tracing these telephone calls. They capture the thug after beating the absolute shit out of him. Which is super cool fight.
And you can see her shadow. She's invisible, but you can see her shadow.
Yeah, because she's not actually invisible. Yeah,
little things I like.
Yeah, it's like it's creating this sort of camouflage out of, like, I don't know what you would call it. I guess it would be like some sort of like advanced camera capturing system around her and like being able to project it on that sort of the suit that she's wearing, right?
It reflects light in a, like the way that they do it in our reality is it reflects light, and there's materials that can reflect light in a certain way that can allow this to happen. It usually
they do a good
exists
job
on like airplane, like high technology, like fighter jets have it sort of. This technology just doesn't.
I mean, it probably exists and we don't know about it.
Or that there could be some people in the room right now.
Yeah. Oh God! What the fuck? Someone just punched me. So the movie Invisible Man does a really good job of creating like a spooky suit and like explaining it in a weird way that makes sense to me. Anyway, they beat him up. It's super violent, but they don't kill him. They extract him, I guess, right? And then they also capture the garbage man. We get that super disturbing scene where we realize that like people can just erase all of your memories, put new ones in. And then when you're being interrogated for a crime and you're like, but can I get my old memories back? And they're like, nope, sorry. You're stuck with these ones.
We have the technology to implant these things, but we don't have the technology to put it back the way it was. Sorry.
Steven, can you remind me of this conversation in like the next scene in the diving scene? Can you remind me that you just said that? Of like the whole implanting? Okay, cool. Yeah. We'll get back to it.
Also, at this moment, you see that she and Bato are looking into the interrogation room, and you get this, again, beautiful, like you said, Cass, like everything is obviously extremely deliberate, and they're not going to sit there and animate a sequence of her looking into a reflection of herself and speaking through into an interrogation room while you can see a reflection of her on the glass. If it wasn't meant to mean something, and to me, I was like, this is sort of like her looking in on what she could become or what like they could easily do to her, like inside the interrogation room. I don't know what you guys got out of that, if anything, but to me, I was like, this is super, because they hold on her for so long, and it's basically just her and his voice kind of speaking to her.
That's exactly what I got from it too, of like seeing herself in the reflection and like seeing herself not only in that reflection, but in the room as well. Like trying to piece it together for sure.
Right. And then the investigation essentially comes to a dead end, which, it happens when you're a cyber cop or whatever the fuck they are.
Cyber cops.
But then the system gets hacked and it starts to create a body, and it creates the body of essentially a copy of her, another version of her. And then that escapes and gets hit by a truck, and then they go in and they realize that it's in there, and they pull it out, and they just have like the top half of it or whatever, right? Like it's the arms, the breasts, the magnificent breasts.
Well, I think it's also like they kept saying it was like they wanted to like trap this hacker puppet master in like a perfect body, right? Like that's how they frame it. But I think kind of right after that scene, and I don't want to kind of delve too deep into the ending, but it seems like it didn't matter what body was put there. Like it seemed like the puppet master wanted to be in a body, wanted to get hit by a car, wanted to get into that room.
I think that
and was in control the whole time. Like it doesn't seem.
No, the puppet master wanted to be put into a body that looked strikingly like Motoko, so Motoko would get in her head about it. Because
and you also see like the immediate zoom in of like the puppet master's eye on Motoko as she enters the room. Like it's like, oh, I found what I needed to find.
Yeah. So because Motoko literally has that like moment where she's like, does nobody else see that facially we look the same? Like, what does that mean for me? Does that mean that
she was like, I didn't see your boobs, you don't look the same, I promise I wasn't looking,
we got the same boobs.
Well, aren't they like
at the end, it's like
they're like trying to create a body, right? And they're creating the body, and then it's hacked and assembles it as a shell for a ghost, right? Okay. This is
but the puppet master like implants himself as a ghost untraceably, like he gets but also the
but they
body,
eventually
like,
find out that there's a ghost in there.
Like it's crazy convoluted. It's like one of those movies.
I feel like we can't even talk about it until the final scene. Like there's no way to explain it until
when he just explains everything.
Even the people in the movie are like,
none of this is even possible. I don't even know why we're discussing it. Let's just wait till the end of the movie.
Yeah.
That's my
Speed Racer. Get out of here.
Steven, are you talking about that diving scene? I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, I think we should. I think it's up right after this, is it not?
It's before.
Oh, was it before?
Yeah.
Shit. Okay, yeah. Well, let's talk about the diving scene. Yeah,
let's
go into that.
It's very cool.
The alley man looks like Kaylin. I already said that.
Important notes to
Not right now. This is caveman me.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, wait till next episode. I'm going to shave it all off.
If you go back and watch the episodes I'm putting up from pandemic era when it was just me and Kaylin,
I'm almost back
You're almost back to that. My beard in those old episodes, oh my God. Who let me walk around the world
Marvelous.
like that?
I'm so glad you guys didn't have to see me in my pandemic era with my big beard. So I'm glad.
Oh, what? We missed
glad we skipped it.
Yeah.
But you're a scientific marvel. You gotta, get out there, join a carnival.
That's true. That'd be a hit.
Carney. So the one thing about this scene that I like, I mean, we can talk about it as much as you want. This is when I started to realize, like you, that there were so many moments of symbolism involving water that I started to really kind of pay attention, because I was like, there's too much. There's too much water going on here. Even the puppet master being born of a sea of information, I was like, wait a minute, a sea of information, an ocean of information, more like. And like, there's so much visual confirmation if you start to look at it. Like even the helicopters look like sharks, the planes look like whales, and it gets crazy. But at this moment, for me, I think that after the dive, when she gets back on the boat and they have their conversation, it's sort of like this drunken conversation between the two of them, right? Which I appreciate, because they both are incapable of getting drunk, but they just want to try.
That's sort of.
They can get drunk. They can just get sober in a hot second.
They can get sober immediately. Like they can purge it.
I wanted to ask you guys, if you were able to have this ability, would you abuse it? Because I would abuse it. I mean,
I'm Polish, so I feel like
I'd be drunk all the time.
I mean, I'm Irish, so okay, fair enough.
And I'm just a drunk, so.
Just a drunk.
Nice.
Kaylin's not a script European. We all like to drink, okay? Did you see this one?
Next episode, Beer Fest.
Yeah.
So
we're doing Broken Lizard next month?
I mean, I don't really like discussing comedies because I think it's boring. But anyway,
better watch
because it just turns into us being like,
comedy
remember the part
is
where
just
they
tragedy
say this?
sped up, my friend.
That's true. Yeah. Oh. We should watch them in sped up then, because it's a tragedy to talk about them a lot of the time.
Yeah, go back to my birthday month last year where we did 5 Trey Parker and Matt Stone movies in a row, and that's the reason why we're never doing comedies on this unless it's extremely pertinent.
Or it's like a heady comedy. I think that like comedy is okay if it has like a good structure and story to it, but if it's just like butts and boob jokes
Club Dread
and you're gay the whole time, it's like, I'm not. Stop calling me gay, movie.
We're all gay.
I mean, I am gay, but you don't need to keep reminding me about it and how much everybody hates me because of it.
No one.
In the 90s, they did. No, I'm just joking. But I think that, you know, this is where you kind of get the full sort of back and forth between their philosophies, and she is not really down on herself, but she's almost like inhumane about talking about her humanity, where she is cold and callous about it, and he is clearly like, he loves her, maybe almost like he's like, or at least infatuated with her to a point that he respects her completely and does not ever want to overstep his bounds as like a partner, even though he clearly has feelings for her.
I always got brother sister from these two.
Yeah,
I don't know.
My first watch on Monday, I was like, oh, I think he likes her, and then the second time I was like, oh my god, no, I feel like there's some kind of just mad respect.
Yeah,
and I
like
feel
he's a guardian figure to her.
Well, she
yeah.
also
partners look out for each other.
Yeah, she
absolutely.
she also almost walks around without ever considering the fact that somebody around her that sees her might be sexualizing her at all. Like it doesn't enter into her mind. So he's constantly having to like put a jacket over her or like turn away when she's just like
yeah.
But that's such a beautiful like human moment with Bateau. How do you pronounce it?
I think it's
Bateau.
Yeah.
Where like even the moment where like she's getting like back onto the boat and she's like changing, she doesn't think anything about it. But he has a moment that's so human, that he looks over, realizes, has this human like impulse, and then resists that impulse and turns away.
Yeah.
Which is stunningly beautiful.
That's also a human impulse as well,
that's
right?
Very human.
Yeah.
And I think like he sees her as what he assumes the rest of the world sees her as human. Mm-hmm. He's like, well, no, like you're human. People see you as human. She's like, are you sure though? Because I doubt it. Maybe.
There's also a moment later where they're in the elevator together and they're essentially having the same conversation again, but on a different sort of instigation to the conversation.
After
happening.
Seeing a full AI droid doll thing.
And that's where he starts to be like, well, you have human brain neurons activated in your cybernetic brain. You have human parts and people treat you human. Don't you think so? And she's just like, yeah, not really.
She doesn't even answer it.
Yeah, she's just kind of like, She does a Marge Simpson.
She is living that experience.
I think it kind of shows her. I think it shows her humanity. The fact that she's questioning it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Like, I agree.
But she can't see it. Like it's one of those things. Like you don't question it unless you are it.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like with like Puppet Master things and like AI, there's no question.
Part of
what that is
for its era. Is this
is
this maybe an allegory for some sort of sexuality? Because like in 1995 these things weren't really discussed. You had to put them in high art like this to really get that point across. We go back and watch it now, like I said at the top of the show, I thought this was just like a crazy sci-fi that takes place with all these robots shooting each other with the crazy guns. But the fact that we've gotten this deep into it now, I'm starting to think that maybe there's allegorical stuff happening. Especially
I think it's also like a little bit of like neurodivergence as well too. Yeah. I think there's a lot of things that can be reflected within it, but I think that's just because it is the human experience that is complex. Yeah. And the moment you start digging into it, the more you're going to find and the more you're going to relate to. And it's amazing.
Because Motoko is very much like...
But also the less you're going to know.
Of course. I mean?
Like, the more
no answers. Only questions.
Motoko is very much the antithesis of like, at what point, how many robot parts have to be in my body before I'm literally just a robot and that's it? And
that's the ship of Theseus,
like the
whatever,
thesis
right?
of the whole thing, right?
It's the Theseus of the whole thing.
The Theseus. How many parts of a ship can you replace before it's a different ship? Right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what sort of went there. Where I went there with my mind. How much computer am I?
Zero.
That's fully dumb.
I wish.
Just your headphones.
You got your smart humans and your dumb humans, and I'm the latter.
No. Also, like right after this moment, I don't want to jump away from it too quickly if we want to still discuss this whole thing.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
Before you jump away, just because I have a mini note. I feel like this scene is really important, which is why I wanted to talk about it. There's a couple things that happen with Motoko kind of goes on this whole monologue of what she considers to be human, and the first thing she says is like a face and a voice to distinguish oneself from others. And until the next scene where she maybe sees a mirror of herself, she believes that to be true of herself, I think, in this moment. The second thing...
It's got the face, but it doesn't sound like me. It sounds like a man going...
The second thing she says is seeing your hand when you wake up, which is the exact first thing that we see her do right after the whole rebirth thing in the first scene. Yeah, when she wakes up, she sees... And the next thing, I feel like this whole movie is just filled with contradictions. The third thing she says is like childhood memories and feelings of the future. But right before this scene, she just saw someone get those memories implanted in them. And that's all an illusion, can be. Is that humanity? I don't know. And then the next thing I wanted to talk about, when she is talking about coming out from the surface when she's diving, and Bato is asking her, why do you do that? She's like, I might come up to the surface as something else.
Yeah.
Which I think is a direct correlation of every single time that her body has been rebuilt or she has been remade. It's like, I need to be something. I need to be something. That's the kind of the end of it. And I think it's just a really beautiful scene. Also, the bell chime sound at the end of that scene where she's talking to Batu and then you hear another voice, they both hear it.
Yeah.
Theory for later, I think she's already hacked.
Okay. And that bell chime, is this where it starts? Because the bell chime is through the whole movie, like from here on out, definitely.
Yeah. I think at that point it is like at least in my brain, I think that is already not her voice, not her consciousness, not her ghost. I think that is already the puppet master, whether that's a fragment that's been a part of her from the beginning, or whether that's something that maybe happened at the beginning of the movie when she was being rebuilt while other like Section 6, Section 9 people were coming in. I don't know.
I also like, we're talking about philosophy and, even the Theseus's ship and all that kind of stuff. Like the bell ringing could even be just some sort of like indication that the puppet master has been working for much longer than anyone knows, and it could be sort of like a Pavlov's dog.
Or it's like this era's version of like the internet sound from the 90s, like that's I know that's it's a good,
but I mean the reason that I'm bringing up the Pavlov's dog experiment is because he would ring a bell,
right? Okay,
in order to get a reaction from a dog, and then he would ring the bell in order to like train the dog to react in a certain way, and then he would ring the bell and not do what he was supposed to do, right? So it's like it could be that they're indicating that the puppet master is trying to like train her in some capacity. Okay, right?
Sorry, I should add context. I meant that my interpretation for what we're talking about here is that the bell is the indicator that the hacker is hacking in. Like it's
right. I thought you meant it was like thing. Noise.
No. I meant the like.
Or like, hello, motherfucker.
Hello.
Or like.
No, these are you're just saying.
LeBron James.
You're just saying vines. Vines were 7 seconds long. If you don't remember Vine.
Oh my God, he on X Games.
X Games mode.
Can tracks be circuits for this episode?
Fuck, Richard.
More like Hurricane Tortilla. We could say circuits.
Thank you for that.
Adam. Give my hat back, Derek. Give my hat back. All right.
Where's my money, bitch? Dun, dun.
I stuffed a whole bag of jelly beans up my ass.
Is this a Rails moment? I don't know. I'm new.
This is a Rails moment for sure, but
we're just saying vibes.
Me and Jason sometimes will just see how many we can remember in a row.
Nice. Yeah. And they were roommates.
Road work ahead. Exactly. I sure hope it does.
Yeah. And they were
roommates.
Okie dokie. Yeah, Kaylin's because you just got the internet last month or whatever.
So true.
I wanted to mention that there is the shot of the plane that's flying over the city at dusk, I believe. It's an orange sky. And it does 2 shots of it. And I immediately was like, that is a shot literally in Kill Bill. It's the exact same shot. It's just not animated. But even though it is technically animated, I think. But I think they use models and stuff. But it's just another example of like a premium A-list director who definitely has seen Ghost in the Shell and was like, probably watched, because I mean, Kill Bill is one of those movies that he probably watched every single piece of Japanese cinema that he holds close to himself and was like, let me just put everything that I love into this.
Yeah, and George Lucas is like that too, right? Like he was very inspired by old samurai film.
Yeah, but I just mean like Quentin Tarantino is like unabashedly like, yeah, I homage stuff all the time. Like I will sometimes just recreate exact sequences of shots in order to get my point across because it was done so well in this other movie, and I'll just put it into one of my movies. He is a pop culture director, Quentin Tarantino.
It's like Andy Warhol, but in
just like Andy Warhol
direction form.
Yeah.
Good artist borrow, great artist steal.
And that's a quote.
Yeah.
Someone gift that immediately.
I mean, that is a quote.
Isn't that an Andy Warhol quote?
Yeah.
I think it might be Jim Jarmusch.
Oh.
No, it couldn't be.
Jim Jarmusch
Drunk
is
speech.
Circuits.
Yeah, we're not even a third of the way through the movie.
Hey,
I have so many more notes.
We got 45 minutes. We're doing fine.
That's true.
It's a short movie. We can end it at any time, pretty much.
I mean, the main thing that I got from that interaction is that she is completely obsessed with asking people how many human parts they have left, and almost like she's comparing herself to them, which is another very human trait.
We've been
it's also just a human trait, comparing yourself to other people. Like,
yeah,
human beings are every single day guilty of that, where they get up, they look in the mirror, and they are displeased with what they see, and it's because they are comparing themselves to other people all the time.
Yeah.
So we get one character in this movie who is basically a human. He just has like the Skylink or whatever, the Elon Musk fucking brain internet.
The driver,
Tagusa, yeah, and the guy in the person. I don't know if you're the person in the chat.
He doesn't even like using high-tech guns.
Yeah, he literally uses an old what's it called?
Yeah.
Like a Marie.
He uses a revolver. I don't know what they call it. Yeah.
He does have a bullet that has like a tracking device on it, which is like kind of old, like Batman tech, like Spider-Man.
Yeah, but he's feels guilty using it. He's like, I don't like using these high-tech bullets.
Like
they give you cancer. They give you ball cancer.
Those are 50 years old, my man.
Only if you keep it on your waist.
I mean, the 50-year-old ones probably super give you ball cancer.
Yeah.
Only if you have balls
or ovarian cancer. Just cancer. It's bad.
Ovaries are just balls inside of your body, Galen.
That's
It's true. Reductive. Same with the other parts.
I don't know if it's reductive.
Inside or outside. Whichever one you want.
True.
That sounds rude. I'm sorry.
So anyway, he uses a revolver.
How about those circuits?
But yeah, I thought that was a really fun character choice to have a character who's like, no, I don't trust it. But it is sort of like the hello, Madison.
I told you.
The true puppet master appears, or the Muppet Master, because Jason's a Muppet.
Is she there? She's looking up. She's there, isn't she?
Yeah, the Muppet
just
Master
popped in for a second.
Steve just called you the Muppet Master because I'm a Muppet and you're my master.
Whoa.
She's my handler.
Yeah, she's your ghost.
Yeah.
But fuck, I can't remember where I was. Oh, yeah, I was just talking about how there would be, it is a good like sort of parallel to the guy who is like scared of using a cell phone, being like, those things will give you brain cancer or whatever. But it's like he just doesn't want to upgrade, even though it could easily improve his life in every single way possible. to the point that he won't even use an automatic rifle.
I will think that's such a beautiful thing. Sorry, you go ahead. I interrupted.
You're going to argue that point?
Coming
from the guy who still hasn't got a vaccine.
Welcome to Point Counterpoint. Kalen, point.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, all these advancements we have, are we any happier?
Yes.
Is life any better? Is the world any better? Actually, you know what? I'll say it this way. How smart is someone that destroys their own home? I'll leave it at that.
Not very smart.
Not smart? No. Like, I don't know what you mean. Are you talking about human beings destroying the earth? Is that what you mean?
Hey, take it how you want it.
I mean,
take it how you want it, is what he says. You want it with a little hot sauce?
I love hot sauce personally.
I also love hot sauce personally, but Cass, counterpoint.
Wait, hold on. I was pulling up my notes.
You're like, I don't have any notes on hot sauce.
The second page.
I just thought it was really interesting to have sorry, this is a bit of a throwback to the whole beginning of this movie, but I thought it was really cool that she jacked into the car. But also she was talking about the difference of like him using the revolver and her using an automatic, which in itself is a beautiful metaphor for this whole like human versus AI built machine, like which is better. And she's arguing like, yeah, okay, I want you on my team because for some reason these automatic beings or automatic machines, like yes, they can jam or yes, but they're all going to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And I need something kind of on my team to think outside of that, to be almost in this weird organic space where maybe they might make more mistakes or maybe they're not as good, but they're not going to just be doing the same monotonous action every single time.
We get that played out by him literally just using old school detective shit to figure out that there was a third person who came into the building with the two corpos, which I loved that scene where he's just like using a computer to do like simple calculations to like see how much the sensors are supposed to weigh, and it's like the door stayed open for too long, so that, you know, the sensors are supposed to, the door's going to close right after the people come through, so like there had to have been a third person. And then I was like, how did I not pick up on that? Because this thermal technology exists in this world. They say that it only certain districts have access to it, but there's obviously a black market, which is talked about at the end of the movie. But in real life, there's a black market. In every sci-fi movie, everybody goes to the black market. So why wouldn't there just be a black market version of this tech? The guy that they had fought previously in the movie had a jacket made of the stuff, right?
Yeah.
Also, just to add on to that, so like with what you were saying, Cass, racism is bad. Diversity is good.
Yes. Agreed.
I agree with that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. But you need that's the thing, right? Is that like it's
my
not,
next note weirdly just says white people.
I feel like this movie is really cool. It almost reminds, I don't know if you guys have played Mass Effect, but like the first time I played Mass Effect, I chose to align both the like machines and humanity, because in my brain it just made sense to continue to have diversity in all forms.
Best of both, yeah.
Exactly. And like have people work together, like no matter what your background is, if we all work together as a team, we evolve and we get better, just like old tribe systems. It's just a little bit different now, but it's basically the same idea.
And to that note, I think that Scarlett Johansson, she did a really powerful message playing Motoko. That's a joke, but also I did have a kind of an epiphany that was like, I think they should have cast an Asian actor, obviously. But that said, devil's advocate, Motoko is like not clearly an Asian person, you know?
Absolutely. Full Western animated eyes and like made to look not like anything in particular. Yeah. Like she could fit in any world, which makes sense. She be any
race almost.
So I don't really remember if people were trying to defend it at the time, but it feels like in the current like Hollywood landscape, just fucking cast an Asian person to play an anime character. That said, maybe that I would have to see the whole movie to get sort of artistically what they were going for.
Yeah, you know? There's also lots of Asian people in that movie as well.
But that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
I think the issue is that the main character of one of the most popular animated movies to come from Japan ever made was not cast as a Japanese person.
Yeah.
And I will say I haven't seen the live action, but I was watching a couple clips last night of it, and I saw actually a lot of diversity, at least in the clips that I saw. I saw
even
a
just
bunch
look
of
at the
people
poster.
of different races
Yeah.
in one shot.
Yeah.
It was like there was white people.
Well,
there
that's
were Asian
the point
people,
of this
there was
movie as well, is that it's the world is now a world order. It's not just, you know, it's less sort of tribal in terms of like countries and continents and stuff. It's like it's more diverse. Yeah. I mean, you look at Bato, he looks like a fucking Aryan. Like he looks like a fucking giant German man.
And his eyes scooped out and some like cylinders just plugged in there. He's the guy from Game of Thrones. He's one of the Greyjoys, the pirate one. Is really cool and really dark. Yeah, it's very cool.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to watch the live action again and not fall asleep. And
I'm gonna watch it
to get through it.
But
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with you, Jason, but I do also think it is worth saying that if there's a large enough group of people that are upset about it, then we should reconsider what we're doing, right?
Absolutely. I agree.
But I also agree with you in saying that many of the characters in this movie both appear and are confirmed to be Caucasian through the dialogue. There are several points where like the Caucasian guy over there, yeah,
the like multi-faced Conan O'Brien.
Yeah, exactly. That guy is clearly white. He looks like Conan O'Brien, but he got left out in the sun too long.
That's crazy fingers.
Like dun 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 dun.
Yeah, I wrote down melty Conan with the billion fingers.
I love the
picture him like doing the string dance with a billion fingers.
I've always loved the dispatchers having the like fingers that open up so you can like type faster. And in this universe, the keyboards are way bigger, so it works out perfectly.
But evolution. In my head, I'm like, why
another theme? We're getting it right back.
Can you just plug your brain in?
That's like
the problem. Better if you plug your brain in.
2029, Elon Musk is working on it. Okay.
For sure.
Finger extenders.
They do kind of do that where when he's when Bato at the end is like he hacks into a guy to like mediate the conversation between the two robots, right?
All right, 2 seconds. Keep going.
We're gonna keep going.
I'm backwards.
All right.
Did we get to the puppet master captured part yet?
Well, we got to the truck getting hit, and then they bring the puppet master in, and they got her, or I guess them, as like a torso.
It's like ghost in a doll kind of imagery.
Yeah, ghost in a shell, if you will.
Yeah. I don't know. That's just the words they used. I wrote it down. I was like, oh, they used that word. That's interesting because it's not the title. So I'm going to write it
down. It's so weird to me that they just kept the boobs. Like it could have just been the head, you know? Like it's just so weird. But I mean, like I guess it's like kind of
90s.
It's a good visual though. Like it is an intense visual to see, but it's also a very horny visual.
I forgot.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've played like Hunter, like you know this, Stephen. I've played the RPG Hunter, which is based off of White Wolf's World of Darkness, and I have tortured a vampire before, and I have cut off all their limbs, and I was not thinking about anything sexually. I just needed information, and they couldn't run away from me or claw me in the face. So that's what we did.
Like series of images that I drew years ago where it was just like astronauts that were being blasted apart in space, but like they were all like when their suit would get ripped off, like their body would come out and it would be naked. And like I wasn't drawing it because I was like, this is sexy. It was like, this is so fucked up.
Yeah.
You know,
like the nudity added a level to it that was intense that was not meant to be sexual in any way.
For sure.
It's like
and also like vulnerability, right? Like it's like that feeling of like I have no protection. I'm just here.
For sure.
It's a grindhousey thing. Like manga is really graphic because it can be, you know, so naturally when you translate it to a film, it was the 90s. And when this movie was made, they knew it was going to be on the bottom shelf in the anime section at the back of a, you know,
were they wrong?
Mom and Pop's like movie store. I mean, you could rent this from like Blockbuster and stuff, I'm sure. But in the anime, the one anime section that was like half a rack was like 12 movies. So you do have to you'd have to recognize that like it's a faithful adaptation to keep it that raw, I guess. And
yeah, no, it's weird. That's what I didn't mean to be like.
There was a
why
particular
did they do
demographic
this?
in mind too with this kind of thing, right? Like they wanted horny 14-year-old boys to grab this DVD and be like, "There's a naked robot in this, and she's so hot, and I think there's boobs." And as somebody who was a horny 14-year-old at one time, I absolutely rented this and was like, "Hey, buddy, hey, animated boobs."
What, your other 14-year-old friend? You said, "Hey, buddy,
hey, buddy."
Were you guys surprised by how much boobs were in this?
I was only
no, because
surprised.
I've seen it before.
Yeah, I've seen it before. I was only surprised because the opening scene is like, if you're walking by somebody watching it on a computer, you're thinking that they're just full on watching hentai almost. Maybe not penetrative.
That makes sense.
But
with like the shell like breaking apart and it's just full boob and you're like,
yeah.
I kept having to like minimize the screen. Be like, I need to watch this for.
You need like the privacy screen protector.
Yeah.
You can't see from the side.
It's like the towel. You put the towel over your monitor and you just have it over your head.
But my monitor.
I think that might be worse.
My monitor is like.
Guy's definitely jerking it in the cubicle.
So my monitor is one of those giant curved ones that's facing where everybody was eating lunch. Yeah.
I mean, Jason's going to have to start making announcements before he starts putting movies on, being like, all right, everybody, I'm watching Ghost in the Shell. It's a classic movie from 1995. It's regarded as one of the best cinematic masterpieces ever made.
I'm off the clock.
There are boobs.
There are boobs in it. I'm off the clock. I have signed out. You can check. I'm signed out.
Yeah.
There's going to be boobs.
I don't know. I also feel like all of the nudity that was in this movie, like at least to me, felt like 0% sexual.
No, not at
like
all.
It was just the
even
way
the
that
moments
it was.
where Bato was uncomfortable in a way that seemed like he was maybe being like, ugh, people are going to sexualize her. It's like he was protecting her from us, the creeps in the audience.
Why did he need areolas though? Why couldn't it just be like a shape or whatever?
Because anatomy.
Yeah. Also, because they're supposed to be able to trick you into thinking that they're human. That's the whole point of their.
Right. It has to be realistic.
Why wearing clothes?
Because people wear clothes.
Only sometimes.
She wasn't wearing any.
She wears clothes plenty of the time.
She has a really cool orange jacket in like one of the first scenes, and I want it in real life so bad.
We talked extensively about how she has a wardrobe and she's not always wearing the same thing in every scene like every other fucking anime we've ever watched. She has an actual full wardrobe.
She's naked a lot.
She's only naked when she's on mission.
Yeah,
she's got to be camoed, man.
She pulls all her.
She's got the camo suit.
Her
you can't
version,
camo over clothes. Okay.
Her version, well, not in this instance. Her version of her like going into like ready up mode is her ripping all her clothes off. She's like, I'm going invincible or invisible.
Yeah,
which I thought was really fun.
I had a really cool outfit today, but I have to be invisible. Dang.
Ah, darn.
Like a sick sundress. She's like, damn it, I had this made special at the market, the dress market.
She never just takes her clothes off like normally, too. She's like ripping out.
Yeah.
Like full Hulk mode.
Well, she can't.
Spider-Man over here being like, I gotta go.
She Clark Clint.
She Clark Clint.
It's true.
Yeah.
Classic Clark Clint.
Are we gonna ask the heavy question this episode?
Oh God, I don't know what it is.
What is it?
What's life to you guys? What's soul? Are we gonna go there?
I have a whole note on it.
I'm
gonna keep talking about the notes until the day I die.
That's what we do.
No, I don't think that this movie really gives a full answer. But I think like this whole like that ending scene. I don't know if we have. What's your guys' timeline? How long do you have to talk about this?
We got half an hour.
We're getting there, but yeah, we can kind of power through that middle chunk because there's
where
not
it's
a lot.
Like all exposition. It's like explaining story.
Yeah.
There are two.
We'll save the heavy question for the end.
Okay.
Because I think it's one of those things where it is touched on multiple times. I don't know if we actually will get a full answer from it.
I think that's better that way though, because no one you know what I mean? Like we
will not answer that.
Yeah,
we all ask the question. We all have thoughts about it, but
I think everybody does every single day of their life.
Yeah.
Apparently, people don't have internal monologues, so you can't assume everyone does that.
That's true.
That is wild to me. My internal monologue is very loud.
It's so loud.
Yeah, that's
mine is like a rabid maniac that won't stop.
It won't
yelling.
Like I have all of like the cool like voices that I want to say out loud. Where I'm like, I'm like being a gremlin, all in here, all the time.
I do it, but they come out, and I'm like, ooh, that was a weird voice that I just.
And then you
made.
record it, and you make money. So that's rad.
That's right. Yeah, like in the shower, I'll just start being like, "You have no idea the seriousness of this situation," or something.
The shower is scalding hot.
Yeah, the shower is too hot.
Let's be real.
Too hot to handle.
You're just doing your Tom Hanks in the shower.
God damn it! No, Rita, this shower's too hot.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so. A whole lot of exposition, but a whole lot of amazingly beautiful shots, which I would like to talk about, but I don't think we can talk about all of them. It's sort of like when the city is ramping up and like getting into battle mode or whatever, right? Like when the shell is stolen again, and I think when I was watching with you, Cass, and like that shot with the helicopter and all those guys with their raincoats are just like
it was like, wild. And like it's almost like these like big like lightsabers, but they're like just like those like batons that you use to like hail down like planes or helicopters, and like that almost like pylons or like oh my god, I don't even know what to call it, like a physical
like a barrier almost. Yeah.
The roadblock
barrier, like almost like crime scene tape, and it just all the way up, like all the way down the line. I'm like, that's so cool.
And they're just,
I feel so like cool watching this.
Yeah, it's just like a montage of all of these amazing shots where it's like you realize in a penny pinching world where they can't even fucking get someone to animate the intro to Nick Fury's television show. These guys are spending months and months making these beautifully animated shots that are hand drawn, hand painted, and just like lit amazingly.
Nick Fury deserves better.
And they didn't need to do any of it though. Like they could have got the point across easily, but they're like, no, we're gonna make these a beautifully amazing show. You know, like the intros to like Transformers and Thundercats and like all of those shows from the 80s where they had these amazingly beautifully shot 30-second intros that probably took like a year to animate. They have 10 of those in a row in this one sequence of this movie, and you're just like, oh my god, I'm so happy that I'm watching this. Someone drew this. There's probably some guy in Japan right now being like, oh god,
full carpal tunnel over here. Just like it was worth it,
and he's got nothing to show for it. Yeah,
I can never draw again.
But he brought honor to somebody at some point somewhere.
Definitely honor to me. I feel honored watching it. So
too.
Tipped his hat like so.
I don't think I need to go through every single shot, but I think that one where all the guys are running up to the helicopter and their clothes are just like, everyone's clothes are flapping in the wind and they're moving. It's like one of the most amazing shots I've ever seen. It's akin to like some of the shit in Akira where the arm is like going crazy. Like I think I went bananas when we were doing Akira as well, where I'm like, I can't believe someone animated that. It's like so crazy to me.
Just wait until you watch Paprika. I'm telling you, Steven.
Oh man,
put it on your list.
Kaylin's been trying to get us to watch Paprika for the last 2 weeks.
It is a stunning piece of art.
I was about to watch it because I thought it was on Netflix. I'm gonna go, sail the 7 seas.
Yo, Cass, thank you for helping reinforce what I've been telling these guys.
Anytime. It is incredible. Sorry, I didn't mean to distract, but it is.
I've been listening to the parade theme from that movie, and I have no context, but it's just a great song. So
honestly, even in context, you're like
the score for this movie, like
it's amazing.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jordan Peele, the director.
Oh, I'm familiar. In that I've seen all of his films.
The Beautiful Human that Jordan Peele is.
I know him back to Mad TV.
The soundtrack of this movie, particularly the end, where when she's fighting the spider tank thing, the music at that moment is so eerily similar to the music from Us. That I was like, wait a minute, this is like exactly the Us music. And then I started to think about it, and I started listening to it like afterwards, after you guys went home, and I was like, Jordan Peele loves this movie. And then I started thinking about Nope, and I was like, wait a minute.
Nope.
Jordan
I
Peele.
just watched Nope today.
You
Jordan
just watched
Peele,
Nope today?
I haven't seen it yet.
Jordan Peele has
Jordan Peele's awesome.
An Akira motorcycle slide in Nope. There's the part where she
the slide.
And I was Jordan Peele doesn't just love Ghost in the Shell. Jordan Peele loves anime movies from the 90s.
Yeah. Absolutely, he does.
I mean, who doesn't? That's why we're all here. You know?
And he's recreating stuff, and he's making his movies feel like a comfortable pocket that other people can look at, and they'll know that they like something, not necessarily knowing why they're liking it in that particular setting, but it's because they like it from something else. And I'm not saying that it's homage, and it's like perfectly done homage. Like putting an Akira slide in a movie about a bunch of like a family of horse raisers for Hollywood who get abducted by, like, that's great. Like he put an Akira slide in a movie where it has no business being, but it was so sick.
Can I say something on that topic that is like maybe a little bit psycho crazy, but I'm going to say it anyway. So it's not a hot take, but I feel like maybe we are talking about this movie of what is human and what is not. And you have people over time telling the same story or similar stories or drawing from each other all the time throughout humanity, throughout history.
Right.
What is AI doing?
Dun, dun.
What is life? What is real? I don't know.
Copy and pasting.
Those are the questions
of all of the things that we've creatively done.
Exactly, but what is storytelling?
For
right?
now.
Damn it!
Sure.
Shit,
that's what I'm saying. What do we do all the time? History repeats itself. Humanity retells stories and then takes those stories and almost like it's like we take it in subconsciously and they repeat, or we twist them not knowing that we do and make it our own. Right?
I like it.
So crazy. Anyway, sorry.
No, I
had to have that rant.
That's why there are like boards of people right now deciding like we've created artificial intelligence.
Okay, well they're wrong, by the way. I'm not saying that that's real. I'm just saying by
I know, but
logic of this movie.
But for real though, like that's a problem that humanity is going to eventually come across, because like we're going to get to a point where AI is going to collect so much data that it is going to be indistinguishable from a person's ability to exist.
I'm gonna get you guys to go ahead and watch Jonah's Awful episode 1 of the new season of Black Mirror.
Oh my god, so good, so good.
I don't have Netflix.
Just fucking
just download it. I'm sorry. Take it back. Don't do that. Don't do that. Hey,
Steven, you can come over and use my account. I can't give you the password because they'll get mad at me.
they'll come after me.
You can come over and watch Netflix.
But
they'll hack my ghost and fucking make me do crimes.
That's also what this ghost is in this movie, is birthed out of essentially the internet. It's as if the internet had a baby, and that's what this ghost is.
He was created as like a ghost, like an AI like ghost barrier, and then like through going through all of those internet connections or like the database and network, found himself in it. Like it wasn't it was almost like a human accident, right?
It was like, at first I was trapped in the Call of Duty servers where I became very, very racist.
Extremely
and then
racist.
I went on Reddit and 4chan and I learned too much.
And then I became problematically perverted.
I got deprogrammed as a racist and actually became a full Nazi incel.
I am the villain of this story.
And then I realized that Nazis were actually stupid and I killed all of them. They're dead now.
Speaking of villains of the story, did the villain win?
I don't know if it's a villain.
I kind of want to get to my very end point at some point, and I think that I have a theory at the end of this movie.
I wonder if ours are the same.
My bad.
It could be the same. It could be the same. Okay, so do we want to just jump past Conan O'Brien and his hacker fingers, or do we want to, and how they hire like 10 Astro Boys to... They're all like women, but they look like Astro Boy, which I'm
not. We're gonna talk about the crab battle.
Popular back in the day.
They do. They look like they're like women, and they all have the Conan O'Brien fingers. But
we all are women in the beginning.
It's true.
Well, sorry. What I mean to say is they look like human women that are adult women, and they're brought in by Conan O'Brien, and they all have a billion fingers, and they're hacking. But they all have like the old timey like Astro Boy look to them. Like they don't look like the other characters are they have character to them, and they all look like the exact same character, and they have like an Astro Boy face. And I say Astro Boy face because that's like sort of the early style of anime, right? Like they have this very early anime style,
popular style,
and it's like off-putting when you look at it compared to all the other characters that you're seeing throughout this movie. They look like underdeveloped, like they're almost like basic robots. Like they look more robotic.
That's probably intentional, though.
Of course it is. Yeah,
they're like old.
They're robots. That character, and I don't know if you guys watch like My Hero Academia, but I haven't watched all of it. But there's this one character that just has like those like big Astro Boy eyes, and nobody else does. And I'm like, but why?
There's something wrong with this guy. Yeah.
He was very cool though. If you haven't watched My Hero,
Rock Lee in Naruto has a kind of a weird like look, and he doesn't have powers. He doesn't have any of the fucking this shit.
He's determined. He's got
spirit. He's got spirit, and he just punches a tree so much that he gets sort of like a little bit of powers, but he's got a really.
I was curious about that. I've been watching Naruto lately, and he stands out from the rest of them because his animation is different.
He looks like an old school. I think that's in like.
That's what they're trying to symbolize.
Exactly.
Like
So I know there's stuff like that, even in new animation, like the Spider-Man movie.
What? Can you guys please watch it?
Can you shut up while I'm trying to make a point for a second over here? Jesus Christ!
Welcome to Hated to See This One, where
I love Phil, and it's like I'm a Cold High fan, and I had to interrupt. Go ahead, Steven.
Okay. Well, in that movie, they deliberately animate things differently. So in animation, they'll have like you animate on one, so every frame there's a motion, or you animate on twos, and it'll make the characters look different. And then in the new one, I believe they animate a character only on threes, so he's always off his animation compared to the rest of them. And they've already done that with several other characters. So like in order to give characters individuality on a screen full of other characters, they're able to just animate in an off frame, which makes them always moving slightly differently than everybody else to literally kind of like differentiate them in their way that you perceive them.
Music and rhythm is everywhere, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It changes everything.
Yeah, I agree.
And
even without it, it's there.
Like the point that I wanted to make about those Astro Boys was that like at the beginning of the movie, we see that the Major, when she's being built, everything about her, like they don't just like, they give her bones. They're not made of calcium, I assume. They're probably made of something stronger. They give her muscles. I assume they're not made of meat, but they're muscles. And they create a body that is almost perfectly replicating a human body, and then they put skin over top of it, even though it's all artificial and it's stronger and better. Colors. Yeah, exactly. But but everything is there, and it's like they're trying to make her as indistinguishable from a human as you possibly can. And the point about these Astro Boys is that they're so off-putting and weird, and they don't look like anything else, that they probably wouldn't, if they existed in real life, they would look weird to us. You know, like that like AI that you see that's like, and like you ask a question, it's like, yes, I would help you if I needed to help you. And it's like you ask it a simple question, it's like
very good.
It's like gets mad for a second, and you're like, why is it mad?
I have also become an incel.
I've been playing Call of Duty. So like they're not being designed to be indistinguishable. They're being designed to march around with Conan O'Brien and hack the web, like
to blend in.
Yeah, they're going to be seen from afar. They're there to blend in, but they're not there to blend in perfectly.
They'll never be treated as equal, no matter what.
And I think that's like the reason that the Major is asking questions like this is because she's constantly being exposed to things like that, where it's like, I'm almost one of them, but I can pass the human, but I'm not.
Do you guys ever ask yourselves similar questions? Not exactly the exact same question, but like a similar, like, where do I fit in all of this?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think that's a very human experience in itself, right? Like, I don't think that any person on this planet has ever not had that thought at some point in their lives, because we're all individuals trying to fit into some kind of society that tells you like what to be or what not to be. And at some point in your life, no matter who you are, you're not going to fit in. So you have to say, where am I? Who am I? Why am I me?
Exactly. Yeah. I thought that like in between when Jason said, "Welcome to Hey, did you see this one?" and then Kaylin dancing, I felt that the whole time. I was like, where do I fit in all this?
I've been watching a lot of the podcast Dudesy. It's the first podcast that is curated, created, made by AI. Okay.
Oh, they're going to say like made by incels for incels.
No, what I learned about this, it's Will Sasso and his buddy Chad Kolchak. Will Sasso, of course, is the Will Sasso you're thinking of from Mad TV. And
how many Will Sassos are there?
I'm right. And so basically, what happens on this show is the AI curates the AI has access to all of their social media, right?
I'm gonna go to the washroom because I know what you're talking about. So I just gotta go.
anytime that it brings something up, it's an AI generation based off something from their social media. It's interesting. It's funny. It's a comedy podcast, but they get really insightful about stuff. And Chad Kolchak is very of the mind that AI is going to take completely over, and Will Sasso is of the mind he's like, you can't replace actors, you can't replace comedians. Comedy is so subjective that like you can't just have like an AI like create a stand-up comedy bit, which they did. They had an AI Tom Brady do an hour-long special that's actually funny, but when the jokes are being told, it's not funny because the jokes are funny. It's funny because of the way that the AI like spit out this interpretation of comedy. And because of this show, I've been thinking about free will a lot lately, you know?
Ooh.
So there's the notion that like I can just like do whatever. Like I picked this up because I wanted to. But then the idea,
you were already going to pick it up.
I was already going to pick it up because I wanted to. It's been premeditated for hours or days that I was going to pick that up, and not in like a destiny or a fate kind of a way, in like I've been thinking about it and manifesting it, and free will doesn't truly exist because it was always going to happen, because your brain manufactures it behind the scenes, right? And I think AI is very much doing that in our lives right now, and I think we're going to wake up one day and be like, oh shit, just the same way that we woke up one day and the internet was so prevalent. We woke up one day and everybody has cell phones they're horribly addicted to that we'll never be able to come back from. AI is just going to be integrated into our lives in a very similar way. And
Jason's going to be arguing with his grandson who's like, I love her, grandfather. And it's like a robot.
It's like, it's like, I don't want
robot,
my
grandson marrying
no,
a
but
robot.
also there will be a movement, I'm sure, that's like, robots are humans too, or whatever.
This is my take on free will.
Do you have your hand up,
Hold on, Cass has her hand up. Let Cass talk.
Oh, sorry.
I do.
No, sorry.
I want you to continue. I need to say this before I forget. I also feel like, as someone who also just does things because free will, what is it? Have you ever had those moments where you feel like you're playing The Sims and somebody canceled your action halfway through?
Yes.
And you're just like,
what were you doing?
Yeah.
I don't know, probably going into maybe grabbing a cup of coffee, and I was like, oh man, but I need to do this. Why am I here?
I literally, that happened to me last weekend.
I have to pee, I need to eat.
I'm in the middle of pooping. Things. What do you mean I gotta go to school right now?
It's like somebody just canceled my action, and that's rude and inconsiderate. If I'm in a simulation, by the way, rude. Just don't do that to me.
They gave you too many actions in a row.
Too many actions in a row. Sorry,
hey,
I needed to chime in.
More popular.
Use some cheat codes.
Come on, Sims God, get in here. Get some motherload.
Down, up, B.
I saw some weirdos ride a tube to the Titanic. They clearly used a cheat code to do that.
Motherload a million times, I'm telling you.
Yeah. They used a lot of cheat codes, and then they really fucked up.
They got disintegrated.
Submarine.
They got disintegrated for their actions.
Oh, that's so fucked up.
Yeah, they imploded.
It's better to implode than stay down there that long.
It's better to implode than explode. That's
better
what I
to have
say.
Imploded and lost
better
than to
up
have
than
never
in.
Exploded at all.
All right.
Steve,
let's not make fun of the tragedy of the death of these people anymore.
I laugh at tragedy.
I'm so disconnected from billionaires that I don't care. Why don't you take us to the... Maybe we go over the final scene and then we talk about our final thoughts.
All right.
We talk about the crab battle?
Yeah.
Because that's a water element alert on my notes.
Yeah, that is where I think I really was like, this movie is about the ocean versus the sky.
Well, water brings life, right?
Water brings life, but so does air.
And death.
And
but
both
there's
bring
air
back.
in water.
Sorry?
There is air in water. H2O, brother.
There's oxygen in
but
there.
also
for
water
sure.
can exist in air as well, man.
Steam.
You're right.
Steam. Clouds. Condensation.
It can exist in a gaseous form. But yeah, this battle is pretty cool.
It's the
again,
best part
she shows up in another fucking dope ass costume, and I'm like,
cool.
man, oh man. I shouldn't call them costumes because they're not. It's not like she's doing a wardrobe change.
They're skins.
I mean, a little bit. It feels like me playing Cyberpunk in like the RPG
but
or
they
video
always
game where I'm like, what's my outfit today? I look so cool.
Yeah.
It's my costume. Like,
but they always feel appropriate tactically for what she's doing, right? Like she's wearing crazy body armor at this point, whereas earlier in the movie she's wearing a lighter body armor that she has to remove because she needs to go in invisible mode, but she's wearing the lighter body armor because she's like, I might get shot and I need to at least get to the end of this before I get shot.
What, you don't dress like my Cyberpunk character and just have on Daisy Duke's samurai mask and neon pink pleather vest?
And high pony. Don't
Did you
forget
say
the high
pleather?
pony.
High pony. I said pleather, yeah.
No, I wear full body armor.
Gore-Tex.
I wear full body armor, but my wiener is out.
Yeah.
All the time.
Slider on smallest.
Every time.
Slider all the way smallest.
And I left the foreskin on because I was like, I mean, it's a
largest
fantasy world,
foreskin,
right?
smallest penis.
Anyway, so she's fighting him. She goes in and she doesn't know what she's fighting at first.
It's a crab.
Cool. But yeah, spoiler alert, it's a fucking crab.
It's a giant crab.
Yeah, she realizes as soon as she goes in, she starts
thing.
getting blasted at by something. And then she gets the helicopters to shoot the glass and it rains down. And it's such an amazing shot. And you can see that this crab is this robot crab spider thing is protecting the car, the vehicle that has the other version of her in it, but which is the Puppet Master's shell.
Puppet Master, yeah.
And or what, 2501?
2501.
That's the one.
The guy guarding it is just a hired goon, right? It's just some guy.
He's a ghost. He's been taken over by, is my assumption.
Yeah, but I mean, this is like everyone's tapped into their vehicles and stuff, right? Like I just like seeing inside the helicopters, and there's like 5 guys in there.
Everybody's
and they all have
strapped in.
A crazy giant helmet that goes up into.
I don't think anyone said it yet this episode, but the Matrix.
Oh my god! Sorry, I meant to say that at the beginning. It was in my notes. I meant to say at the beginning there is the whole idea of like the just green text over black screen.
Yes,
that is why we have that in the Matrix. Is because it goes to the shell. It's beautiful.
But also,
yeah,
like that's
everybody's just in.
Yeah, that's also like how
zone.
Is that MS-DOS? Is that what that is?
Yeah, like
Jason, you're a tech person. Is that MS-DOS?
Jesus Christ. The early computers were either green on black or orange on black. Those were the earliest computation systems.
It's true.
Imagine instead of the Matrix being all green on black, it was just orange, like some amber color.
It would not have made it.
Like John Carpenter fucking is like, nope.
John Carpenter's Matrix, and it's amber. Oh
ding, 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 ding.
Just have the old like internet like warm up sound where it's like.
Ding.
That's what I was trying to say earlier. Steve's like, actually, it's the chime of the Pavlov's dog.
Well, no, I was trying to make a point, then you interrupted me, so I got upset with you. So and then I was trying to tell you what I was saying. That's what I was trying to say, but Steve interrupted me. It's like, no, I was saying something and you interrupted me. Anyway, they fight the robot. She is not doing well against it, so she rips all her clothes off and she hops down there and
wait for it to run out of bullets.
Yeah, she lets it fire on her, and it's amazing, man. Like
she waits for the backup to go away. Like she wants an alone time with whatever's there.
She's trying to tap into the
she has questions. For sure.
Even the pillar stuff in this sequence is like Matrix as well, right? Like it's very clearly inspired that bank, or not? It's not even a bank, just the lobby scene.
It's a lobby.
Yeah.
And this is the moment that I was like, oh God, someone give me a pillow, and I had to put it over my boner. Is when she starts trying to rip that fucking hatch off. I'm like, oh my God.
The muscles
just
rippling.
goes into full
Yeah,
Hulk
so
Hogan
hot.
mode. Yeah.
You know what's crazy too? This like bleeds into that whole moment of like her not care, like her brain is herself, and I think she's so aware of that because she does not care what happens. She like bulks out and is just like, it's fine if my arm rips off. It's fine if everything happens to my body that's replaceable, but this is not.
Yeah.
It seems like this model of cyborg doesn't have a lot of self-preservation built in.
No, they don't care. They're not built for that. They're built to be a war machine.
Yeah.
She has no regard for her body in the same way that she has no regard for walking around with her booty and boobs out. Like she doesn't care. It's not.
There's
something
no
that,
like social norm for her. Like there's no sense of that's not okay. Exactly. It's just I am doing my job and that is it.
And she doesn't.
But also,
have any,
she does not succeed.
She doesn't have a sexual drive because it's not built in, right? So she's not.
Or at least we don't see it. But like, if it were to be there, it would be very different from I think what the outside world would try to project onto that.
Yeah, she just wants somebody. She'd want a little Cortana kind of a person to go inside
maybe
of her brain
knowledge is
and
her
kick
sexual
and
drive.
kick that synapse that makes you come. You know.
Maybe
we've all got one.
Yeah, Master Chief definitely has one.
Yeah,
mine's an Ellie.
Guys, tracks,
rails,
circuits.
So at this point, she tries to rip the top off of the spider. She can't do it. She busts her whole body apart, and she experiences a very human sensation of failure. You cannot experience the human condition without experiencing failure. Sorry, the human experience, not the human condition. But it is a condition. You have to fail in order to be a human.
You
meet these conditions.
Fail there, Steve. You really keep punch and fail.
Yeah, because I got fired from my job not long ago, so maybe that's why. Asshole.
So did I.
I feel like you might be projecting.
Yeah.
I'm hugging you right now.
Does this come off as hugging? Or creeping?
I wish we had the nudges from like old like MSN days where I could just like give like a big old hug on the screen.
Facebook poke. Somebody built that.
And she breaks her arms and legs off. And then she gets fired from her job.
Now, they want to kill her.
Hey, listen, I'm working on maybe a very successful Kickstarter. I think I'll be all right.
Give Steven money.
I believe in you.
Give me money.
I'll support you.
All right. Hopefully you can give me $100,000. The Puppet Master's shell falls out as well. Or Bato shows up and he just uses a crazy ass sniper rifle that looks like
big gun
was off the top of a tank or something.
Just brings his fucking RPG with him.
Yeah, and it's like why he was late. He's like, I had to go get this
really big
tank gun. Yeah,
I had to go to the RPG store. There's like 4 of them.
But it's also like it's not like an explosive gun. It's like it's shooting projectiles that are just like ripping other chunks off of it. It's really, really decently animated, like amazingly animated. And
they use something similar on that armored car that we kind of glossed over earlier in the movie.
Yeah. And then we get both the versions of what seem to be, again, the same model of Shell. He's able to talk to her, and the Puppet Master is able to speak to both of them. Or no, just to...
No, they're plugged into the same router.
Right.
Yeah.
He's trying to mediate or whatever.
Yeah.
Bato is there to mediate, and basically the body that held the Puppet Master to 501 can only speak through Motoko's voice or face or something, but like it can't. It's completely like not there. They're just kind of like translating through each other. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed the fun glitch in this moment as well. While they're speaking to each other, where it's like there's a frame that happens where there's like that whole like fisheye lens that's happening while Motoko's being, I guess, talked through.
Yeah. Right.
And it's looking up at Bato. And there's a moment on the screen where the entire screen flashes, and it's the exact same picture, but instead of a blue background, it's a red background, and Batu is not there.
Oh my God, they're in hell.
It's just like
they're in robot hell.
Like I literally had to pause everything. I'm like, I know something's here. It's just like he is not visible in that world,
like
whatever that world
one
is.
Frame or something?
One frame. It's like literally like old school where they would be like, oh, we're doing like subliminal messaging in something, and it's like
I have to check that out.
Yeah, it's very cool. Anyway.
Wow. I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
But I would like to check it out now. But there's this whole end part is essentially her glitching, right? Like we're like seeing weird shit.
It's all philosophy talk. Like it's
this is the creme de la creme, yeah.
And it also, I think, proves that she is more human than she thought, right? And it's I think what leads to the little end conversation between them, right, where she's like, maybe I am better. I mean, because I think that she thinks of herself as inferior for not being human, right? Like I don't think that she thinks that she's not human. She thinks that she's a robot.
She actually really wants to like experience true death, and I think the puppet master wants to experience true life.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really interesting thing. Also, like, she asks him, like, why did you pick me? And he says something along the lines of like, you're like, we're more alike than you realize. And like the real thing, it's like a mirror image, which is very similar to what was said in that ghost voice on the diving scene.
Not to be contrarian,
when that bell chimes,
because water reflects also, right?
Not like it's been with her the whole time.
Not to be contrarian, but I don't think that. I think the puppet master wants to experience true death because he's seen it all in moments and just realizes he can't die. But I
think he wants to be full first. Like he wants to be everything that he needs to be and then pass. Whereas I think she's like,
she wants a human death. She wants she wants to die like in a human way.
And then he wants a human life. Like he was born of the internet. Yeah, like I say the internet, but I mean like he was born of digital information, collection of thoughts, and like he hasn't experienced anything other than being trapped. So like he wants to be free.
With all the ghosts, all the consciousness, all the things that can be copied and like not be.
And all the while this is happening, there are sniper dots moving around on both of them, which is like always unnerving. But for some reason in this movie, Bato is just not paying attention to it, I guess.
He gets his hand blown off for his
he does. He tries to
protect his hand. His whole fucking arm gets blown
off. Also, right before this, I forgot to mention, we have this whole beautiful imagery as well with the Tree of Life.
Yeah, that's the image on the wall, right?
Yeah. And right after, like, this giant, like, crab spider like machine it shoots through like a bunch of fossils of like old life
sea creatures
just like says absolutely not, like that's old and we need to evolve, and then shoots all the way up the family tree, and then this AI is talking about like true life is birth and reproduction and death, and I can't reproduce, but maybe we can combine, and maybe that's the new unique thing. Maybe that's something that has never been seen before. And it's also, they talk about too, there's like the idea of the Tree of Life in general. When you talk about plants, if you cut a plant like by the node of its like trunk or on its vine or whatever you need, it immediately sprouts regrowth. And it can sprawl off. You can take that cutting, make it a new plant. That plant that was the original is going to sprout off in a million different ways.
Spider plants.
Yeah, or like pothos, or like any plant basically is just going to say, if you cut in the right spot, it's going to create so many new things, so many new ideas. So why not cut this off? Maybe it's Motoko.
It's also
or
interesting
whatever,
though, like because if you cut in the wrong
something new.
If you cut in the wrong spot,
it dies.
It dies.
You kill the plant.
Yeah. It needs to be perfectly.
My wife has been experimenting since the pandemic a little bit with that, and she has a whole
with killing plants.
No, she's long gone to bed, but we've got you can't see it because we're blacked out, but she's got a whole like station. She's got a propagation station on the sill that's like old school. It's like like kind of like test tubes almost that she just.
You guys got a balcony?
Yeah, but we just have plants in front of the window over here.
She's also got a propaganda station at the
She's
top
got
of
a
the stairs
propaganda
that says,
station.
Jason, water the plants.
Yeah.
You want to water the plants.
And also
We
it
need
says
you
take
to
back
water
the
the
means
plants,
of
Jason.
production from the enslavers. So.
Well, very well said, Cass. I think
That was very well
Thanks.
said.
I thought about it and I wrote some notes.
yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I had a lot to say about the body, but I think that you covered it in a way that still I would be saying the same thing, but just in a different way, and I think you did it very eloquently.
Here's the sentence I wrote. Basically an unholy union where Motoko will be the mother to new programs.
Yeah, that's basically
Which is the same thing, yeah. I think we all kind of thought of it in the same but different way. I like the idea of like, you know, cutting a plant at a certain point will create something different than what it was before, but cutting a plant in the wrong place will just destroy what was there before and create nothing.
And why he chose her, I think, too, right? I feel like she also had like the perfect amount of humanity and the perfect amount of knowledge of herself and the world around her to be like, this is the one. This is the one I need to merge.
And then
we got the classic, like, the villain kind of side with the villain, kind of agree with the villain.
Well, yeah, like the.
And
like,
again, I don't know if it's a villain.
Yeah,
right.
I don't think the AI is the villain. I think that
he was just trying to escape the internet.
Antagonist, like the root of the word antagonist, more than saying.
I guess
villain.
almost like
best,
the rebel,
you know?
or like the revolutionary, right? Like the
best
not
villains are not
conforming.
Villains. Yeah, they were scared it was a villain the whole time, and it turned out that it was just like, I don't want to be trapped in the internet anymore.
Yeah,
please.
I want to get out, please.
It sounds bad.
This wasn't even my choice to begin with, and that's kind of like human life. Is like, you know, none of this was our choice.
You started it.
Yeah,
it is like
actually, they did.
And it is like the
you
classic,
created this, so
my parents
watch
got
out.
drunk in the '80s, and now I got to pay taxes.
Right?
What the fuck?
Yeah, we're drunk in 2023.
They keep saying that I got to take care of them when they're too old, and I'm like, you didn't take care of me when I was a youngster yet.
This goes both ways.
Mental scars.
So
I love
this is when we get
trauma.
a crazy, also extreme.
I'm a victim.
You know, of the.
I need to interrupt you for 1 second.
Okay, go ahead.
We don't get a full movie title shout out, but we
all of the words are said.
We
do get the beginning of the movie title shout out of Ghost at 10 minutes and 46 seconds, and throughout we get ins and thes, and then we get the cap of the movie title shout out at 1 hour 15 minutes and 52 seconds with
Is
Shell.
that the first time it's said?
The
word shell? That
Shell,
is actually really cool. I love that. Just like kind of capping it on all angles.
Yeah, Kalen, if he doesn't hear it, he'll find it. He'll find a way to Tetris it together. Ding, 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 ding.
It's our oldest bit. It's our oldest bit.
Yo, what's your highest Tetris score?
Me? I don't play Tetris.
I beat Tetris.
I saw a person.
I'm very bad at Tetris.
What, you guys never packed a U-Haul?
You know you can beat.
I'm good at that.
Tetris, right?
How long did it take you to pack a U-Haul?
Me? Personally, do I have lifters? I can put it in because I can pack it very well. I've played The Sims for millennia.
Dear God.
And I know how to make space work.
Dear God. Circuits.
That sounds like some top Tetris scores right there.
Dear
All right,
I gotta try
Jason's
harder.
whispering circuits into his
Dear
microphone.
Jesus God.
I think he means tracks, but I think that's
it means
thing.
end this episode.
Yeah. Okay, so they get blown apart, the two of them. I did want to talk about this shot one more time, just because
beautiful.
I think it's beautiful. It's
the angel shot.
The angel shot.
Sephiroth coming down to.
Like merging worlds. Angels are used of like God and Earth merging and like a higher level of being and all that stuff.
Plunging.
But it also kind of looked like her, right?
Aerith's heart.
I don't know if you looked at it closely, but the hair and sort of the form and everything, it looked like it could be her.
Absolutely.
Which could be her ghost, could be her soul, could be her hallucinating, which means she's more human than she knows. It could be a million different things.
I feel like this whole movie is just the entire movie looking at us like we're looking at it as an art museum. Like they're aware of us being like we're gonna question it. They're like, are you gonna question it? Are you gonna look at me in that way?
The way
are you
I
gonna
think about
figure it out? No.
Is like
let's no answers for you.
Yeah.
Like let's say episode.
Let's say like Cass, you were a character in D&D, right?
I have been, yes.
You have been, but like I'm your DM, and I establish all these things that have happened to you through your life.
Yeah.
And you're questioning whether or not you're. Let's say you're a golem or something, or like a character that is like a warforge or something, right? And you're not sure if you are a soul or not.
Okay.
And at the end of your life, I say you see an angel coming down towards you, and
it
almost looks like you're looking in a mirror, but it has wings. And then that's all I give you, and then you're left to go interpret it. I didn't think that much about it, but I'm giving it to you to think about. You're gonna go home and think about that way more than I thought about.
Actually
D&D homework, and you're gonna get a one-shot next week.
And then I'm like, please bring my character back. I have questions. Like, bring me back from the dead.
I need closure.
Jason, all you heard was D&D, and you didn't listen to anything I just said.
I did.
No, you didn't. You said eye roll, because what I said was an eye roll in the sense that what I'm saying is that as the creator, I don't have to put as much work into it.
No, we kind of do a bunch of
No, but do you know what I did? I put a ghost in your shell by creating Boat Door, and I don't even have to control him. I just put him in your game, and now he's...
I know, but what I'm saying is that, like, as the creator, like a David Lynch or a Ridley Scott, they'll sit there and they'll put an image in their movie, and they'll say, "Now go think about that." As a moviegoer, and like what we're doing right now is analyzing the shit out of it.
Or like
but really, they didn't have to think about it as much as we're doing. It doesn't matter what that person who created it thought.
We put intention on art all the time. It's like no matter what the artist wanted to say, no matter what they wanted to do, that is their own story. But we interpret it through our own filters of
that's why we never get
in life.
That's why we never get a character in this movie saying, well, what does it mean to be human? And then another person being like, this is what it means to be human.
They would never say that. It's not the point.
The whole movie is the question. That's what the whole movie is.
I love that. That's a fucking wow. I'm not being sarcastic. I know you give me that look when I was...
Yo, thumbnail that.
How do you
thumbnail it?
Thumbnail it.
Eye roll?
Just a huge question mark.
The movie is the question.
Yeah.
But I had one thing that at the end of this movie, because they get blown apart, and then Bato obviously takes the head of Major, but you get this weird shot, which is like going down a hallway between a doorway into a room, and it zooms in on like a little like doll, and then it like flashes, and then it's the same shot but reversed. And now it's not a painting anymore, because it was a painting when it was zooming in, and everything's backwards. And I'm like, okay, what's this backwards? It's a backwards shot. This isn't the shot that he showed. And also the doll looks slightly different. And then we get Bato coming in and having a conversation with her. And then, they have the conversation like, well, what are you going to do? Do you think you're human? Here, I give you some keys. You can go. And she's like, I'm going to go. And then as she leaves, you can see that as she's leaving, the same like chair and shit that she was sitting in is through the hallway as she's leaving. So in my head, I'm like, was it two dolls like looking at each other, and like one doll is gone now?
What about a
mirror? Or maybe it's a
Mirror
mirror. It could be a mirror,
good.
but you don't see Bato in the hall. So I don't think it's a mirror. I think it's like another room, like across the hall.
What about an internal mirror? What about like metaphorical?
Exactly, Kaylin. This is the point. Because I'm like, he wouldn't have put this in here to just be like, yeah, Cass.
I'm on mute. I've been acknowledging all of this, and I feel what Steven's saying. I'm like, yes, of course, yes. I just look very animated, but I'm silent.
Are you muting yourself on purpose?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if there's a lot of background noise.
Live mic.
It's too late.
It's the end of the episode.
Well, earlier when you were like, you guys, did you hear anything that I said? I think that you may have been like were on mute for a minute.
I was trying to fix my mic and like maybe do it the other way, and then I realized I pressed the mute button not on my computer but on the actual Yeti itself.
The Yeti.
Lips.
Anyway, when I was watching this again, I was like, this seems too specific for them to have just not had it to mean something. So there were like three thoughts that went through my head. One is that that was two dolls looking at each other, and the one that we end up on is the one we were looking through the eyes of, which is Major, looking at another doll. The other is that, you know, there are two dolls and one left, like got out of there, or there's no doll there, and she's just seeing the puppet master across from her because they're together, and like perhaps it's in her mind as well, like she's got both consciousnesses in there, or Bato took both heads and created a doll for both of them, and like was like, well, let this motherfucker go roam free on the earth or whatever as well.
Yeah.
Why should I honestly let Major go and not him? He didn't do anything wrong.
It kind of, I think, at least to me, it makes sense of like an internal thing for Motoko. I feel like at the end of this movie, Motoko and Puppet Master are one. And it's almost like whenever I think of like in Cyberpunk, if you're a net runner, you see two realities at the same time. You see like the net, and you see real-time space.
They say the user comes from outside the net.
But you know what I'm like, I don't know, at least this is how we play like Cyberpunk at like the table. But it's like you see both levels. You see the net and you see reality. And I feel like, at least my interpretation at the end, they are one in itself, and I think they're seeing their own selves at the same time within one being, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
An outer body experience.
Which would like,
but constantly, like absolutely, like constantly for both parties, and just being merged into one.
Yeah,
into one being.
Like for what Kaylin was saying, like if it's a mirror, like it doesn't necessarily have to be a mirror. It could literally just be another room, and she's seeing that other being there, but it's not there. You know,
I think it's more illusionary. I don't think Bato sees it at all. He seems completely.
It's like Arkham Knight or whatever, when the Joker shows up and is like, "Hey, Bats, I know I'm dead, but I'm here to be your best pal now."
Spoilers for the fourth game in the series.
Sorry, guys. The game came out fucking 10 years ago.
Oh, Kaylin's dead.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm right
Kaylin
here.
rejoined the internet.
Harley Quinn came in and hit him in the head with a baseball bat.
You can go, Dr. J, or whatever.
Talk for 2 hours.
Also, I really liked the first time I watched this, I was really creeped out by the fact that Motoko's body, the first body that Bato could find, was this like childlike being.
Yeah, I talked about this at the top of the episode, but he very much is like, I went onto the black web,
right?
And that's,
I just
found
what I
market,
could.
And that's all I could find, and that got me
Disgusting.
to thinking that, oh my god, the implication.
Me and we kind of talked about this a little bit as well. We were like, why didn't he get like an old woman body or something? And it's like nobody wants an old woman body.
You can't buy an old woman body,
but you can buy a
child.
You can buy a 12-year-old body.
But I think, and maybe this is just because of my brain being desensitized by a bunch of horrible things in this world. I don't know if that was actually the intention. I don't know. I'm on the internet too. I'm an AI.
I'm on the dark web all the time, and I'm not looking for nasty shit. I'm just
watching Chris Hansen every day. Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like maybe the truer part of that was just to reflect this, like the rebirth theme, right? Of like if they have become one together, it's a new life. So it's childlike. It's not an adult. It's some brand new being experiencing the world for the first time together. And I think that is maybe what they meant, but I'm not in their brain, so I don't know. Maybe they're creeps.
I like that. Although they do have tentacle octopus penises in all of their cartoons, so who knows?
I'm unfamiliar with the cartoons, so
I was thinking more that he's like, all right, well, there's car keys in your pocket. You can take the car you want. And they're like,
and he's like, the code is 2501. She's like, yeah, I fucking know. That's my name. Maybe.
When we were watching it, didn't we all go, yeah, duh, maybe change it to something else, man?
Yeah, she said that. She's like, we should get a new password for the next time we meet. So
at least 2502.
Yeah, just switch it.
All right, guys. I think we need to bring the episode to an end, unless Kaylin or Jason, you have something else to say about the end, or Cass, you want to continue on. Do you have more notes?
I wrote when she was a small child. I wrote she even has a small voice.
Yeah, her whole voice changed.
And then it changes.
Yeah, she was like,
everything changed.
But as she's talking, I don't know if you noticed, as she's talking, she does her adult voice comes through a couple times, which was a weird little moment. This movie has I want to go back and absorb it a bit.
Jason,
better.
if you don't already do it, I recommend watching all the movies that we watch at least twice.
I'll never do it. My time is precious.
He watches them on his lunch break the day of.
And the day before.
I do have one thing to add, and I think this was just me being high and fucking whatever. But so I was watching the
high
end
and
credits
fucking whatever, of course.
Exactly, whatever, fucking it, all of it. But I was watching the end credits, waiting for the MPAA, knowing full well there was no MPAA.
There would not be for this. This was straight to DVD.
But I still was watching the credits, giving the names their props, even though I couldn't read it.
No, it's in kanji fully.
Yeah.
He was waiting for the MCU post-credit scene as well. Yeah.
But as I was watching it, again, I might have just been super high, but the way they had the people's characters or whatever, people's names and the characters and kanji and everything, the way they had them spaced, when you look at it from a macro view, when you kind of zoom out and look at it from not specifically what it is, but just look at it as a whole, it kind of looked like they were making characters out of the credits.
Oh, I believe that for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. That's I didn't watch through the credits, but I fully believe that's something they would do.
That also sounds like something that a person who's high would see.
Absolutely. Both things.
It could still be true, even if
that wasn't their intention. One of my life goals is to make a movie and then make credits, and then make the credits make pictures out of.
I don't think it's a bad idea, Kaylin. I think it's a cool idea. I'm just saying, I think that maybe you were just high. I don't know. Anyway, we gotta get to the end, man. We're so over
that's
time.
all I needed to add before we get to the final thoughts.
All right.
We are comically over time.
Yes, Kaylin.
It's gonna be.
Cass.
Wow.
Casslin, go.
Hello.
How dare you?
It's just a final thought that I wanted to throw in here, and I will give full props to my partner because
So the final thought segment is essentially.
Well, I think this is just a final point. I don't think it's the final.
Oh, okay.
It's a theory on. The story?
Yeah,
is that a final thought?
Yeah, no, that's not a final thought. This is just a point that we haven't got to yet. Go ahead.
Cool. My partner was talking about it. He's read Neuromancer and all those things, so he has a better understanding of this world than I do. But his whole thought was that the puppet master, because it can break through barriers, ghost barriers, whatever, has been around for a while. It's almost like this idea of fragments of what it actually is. And I think Motoko is one of the first that it actually merged with. And it seems to be, at least at the end, when she's kind of facing the world and she's like, oh, the network is vast. Where do I go next? I feel like it might be similar to that whole cutting off the node and new growth thing of going and finding every single fragment of what the original Puppet Master was, of what 2501 was. Merging it all together, then at the end of that, finding its true death, finding its reproduction, finding its life, making new life, and then finally being at peace and being one with itself. It was a very cool theory, and I wanted to throw it in there because I thought it was rad.
I like
a
that.
part of the code.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
That.
There are sequels to this movie, right?
I have not seen.
There's two sequels.
Two, yeah.
Or I think a sequel and an anime series.
Yeah, I watched the second one and then I was like, it's not great. And then I tried to watch
it. It's bad and it's not good.
It's not good?
The animation
Listen, man,
is all more modern.
I gotta tell you,
it
the
doesn't
animation
look like that cool old school anime. It looks more. Yeah. It came out in 2004, so it looks like all the anime of that period, and it's just.
So don't watch anything after this. Just leave it at this.
It's not as beautifully animated. It's
I'll
not
leave
as
it in
well
my brain.
told. Yeah. If you want to watch it, just imagine you're watching something else, because it doesn't even really pick up with the story or anything. It's just its own other. It's takes place in the same world, I guess, but. It's like watching Altered Carbon Season 1 and then watching Altered Carbon Season 2.
Oh, no, don't even.
And then Black Mirror thinking they're the same.
I'm telling you guys, you gotta watch Dollhouse.
Well, I mean, Altered Carbon, the whole reason...
Dollhouse?
I don't know how...
JJ, or the
Joss Whedon
show with Eliza Dushku.
Yeah, that's an old obsession of mine.
I know, you're not...
she was from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, right?
That's right. Yeah.
That was Joss Whedon. He created it.
He sucks, though, but...
He created Buffy?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Caleb,
I didn't know that.
Where you been? Well, he didn't create it. Didn't he just adapt it from the movie? Anyway, this is not that podcast.
Sorry. Rails.
Circuits.
I'm learning.
Circuits. I'm getting it. All right.
You're preemptively.
This is the end of the movie.
Yes.
The bad guy won. The protagonist. Antagonist. Sorry.
Both.
Yeah. All right, Cass. The way we end this is you say what went well, which is something you liked, and what could have been better, something you would have liked to have seen. And then if you have a final thought of the movie, and if you want to give it a rating, you can, but
it can be abstract if you want.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's tough. I feel like this movie, part of me wishes that it was a bit, I don't know, maybe the pacing was a bit smoother. But at the same time, because I watched it twice in a row, I think it's because maybe it's made to be watched twice. It's not meant to be a standalone, just deal with it and it's done, like a Western where it just feeds you everything you need to know and that's it. So yeah, I think that was the most difficult thing for me going into it, where it was a bit of a barrier. I broke through and I'm glad I did. What's the second part? Best part of it?
What went better? What you would like to have seen?
What I would like to have seen? I don't know. I actually, you know what? I think there's some scenes that happen that is just dialogue, and the dialogue is beautiful, but I kind of wish I had an extra even 5-10 minutes of having characters either interact more or actually see something instead of just having it be a back and forth of for example, with oh my God, what's that guy from the first scene with Batu, and he's getting information and giving back information to the old guy with the white hair and the angry face, and they're talking over mics. And it's mostly exposition and he's kind of giving more information, but I'm I would have loved to actually see him maybe in that scene or have him experience it rather than just a simple back and forth. I feel there just could have been a bit more meat, but that's very nitpicky. I think this movie is absolutely stunning. And just walking through a museum, like a piece of art. Final thoughts. What is identity? What is human life? And also, when the AIs take over, I like you very much, and I promise I won't mess with you, and I will be just a great person to have around. So please don't kill me. Thanks.
Thanks.
Sounds like something a robot would say. Kaylin, you're next.
What?
Yeah. You're no. You put your hands up, and they all
I'm very trustworthy.
I can't hurt a human.
Yeah.
Rule number 3.
So I will say that I'm surprised it took me this long to watch this movie. Me being who I am and the things that I'm interested in. I was, and the fact that I even knew about it back in the day, because I saw it on the rack, and I don't know, I'm not sure if it was because maybe there was an age restriction or maybe it was my mom or something. I was scared, whatever. Anyway, I'm surprised that I didn't see this movie sooner. I'm upset that I saw The Matrix before this movie, because every reference The Matrix took from this movie took me out of it a little bit. I was oh, The Matrix. And then I was no. This was before The Matrix.
The OG.
Yeah, exactly. Where we at? La La La, Matrix. So this movie is visually stunning, and it was it's a trailblazer for everything to come after it. What does that say?
All right, Kaylin, I'm giving you 10 more seconds.
All right. If it's not in your collection already, go out and get it, because this is a buy. And I give it strength through diversity.
Oh, beautiful.
For my what went well / even better, there's a lot of things that I could say for what went well, and I figured you guys would probably touch on some of them, so I decided to go a little off the cuff, and I'm going to make my what went well and even better the same. The ending. I felt like I didn't get closure, but I also wanted to know what was going to happen next. And with that, I give it back to you.
All right. You know, Kaylin, I got to say, I agree with some of the stuff you said. I disagree with a lot of the stuff you said, but I will say this. Just because something came afterwards doesn't make it better, and it doesn't necessarily make the thing that came first worse. You know, like we watched Big Trouble in Little China a year ago, or a couple of years ago at this point, and, you know, just because Raiden was inspired by that movie doesn't make Raiden worse or Big Trouble in Little China better. I think it made Big Trouble in Little China better, in my opinion, when I watched it. So I'm gonna just move on to mine. Sorry, Jason, because I'm already talking here. I think that this movie is something that everybody should watch, especially if you're an animation fan. Especially if you're a little nerd who just wants to go on a date with someone you really love or like and want to just kiss somebody for the first time, because it worked for me twice. Okay, so I'll tell you right now.
Don't tell them.
Okay, yeah, don't tell them that's what you're up to, but I think it secretly makes people want to kiss.
Probably the boobs.
No, I think that the demonstration of 2D animation in this movie is unparalleled. It beats everything up to, and in some cases, like eclipsing Akira. I think Akira, we can all agree, is amazingly animated as well. But then you can see it in things like the Batman Mask of the Phantasm movie, where they clearly took a lot of cues from these types of movies and figured out how to spend a budget and not make it Disney safe and make it cool as hell. And it's something that I wish they still did now. And, you know, maybe they will at some point. Who knows? But my main fear is that this type of artistry is going to get lost at some point because it's not really being upkept.
No.
And it should be.
I don't want it to become a relic.
Yeah, I don't want it to be like an artifact that people are like, how did they accomplish this?
Spoilers,
like,
it already is.
Yeah,
I know, it's so sad.
What went well, obviously the map paintings were amazing. Every single sequence of this movie that takes place outside of like a deep underground lab is breathtaking, and I recommend the movie based on that almost alone. And what could have went better, I think I gotta agree with Cass, where I do kind of wish that those sort of long back and forths were a little bit more engaging and a little bit more meaty and interesting. You know, I would have loved to have seen a moment where that Conan O'Brien guy grabbed a scientist and threw him out the window and been
with his crazy fingers.
with his crazy hands. Yeah, like that would have been amazing, but it didn't happen. So I would have liked that. And I give this movie a skin-tight suit that turns you invisible, but every once in a while as you're running away, the butt flap falls out and you just see a butt crack and you're like, oh god, cover that butt crack up. There's a couple of things that could have been great.
I have a pair of long johns like that.
That turn you completely invisible?
Yeah.
No, my butt
except for the butt.
Except for the butt. Just a butt crack rolling around.
Jason Finish this up, would you?
Okay, so I wrote this before we had a 3-hour-long conversation about the movie, so bear with me. I did add one thing. This movie does a great job of setting up a question and then answering it, which we didn't really touch on. And by answering it, I mean it, of course, gives you a convoluted, heady answer about it, but it does do a good, it does do that well. Ghost in the Shell isn't really a movie as much as it is a series of anime episodes. Oh. The real draw.
Did you write O?
No, I knew that. I thought that.
Did you go little O, big O,
no,
little
O?
I
didn't. I thought that was going to be.
He thought we were to go, oh.
That would be, whoa.
He wrote hold for applause.
Yeah, I did. I did right. The real draw here is the animation and moody vibe. Okay? I will have to go and watch the next part to really get the whole picture. This is like written by a different person than I am right now at this point. Yeah. It is good, though. It's an important piece of cinematic history. Much like Akira, you can see all the bits in it that inspired other works, like the futuristic Final Fantasies and The Matrix, etc. I give this movie a 3.5 out of 5. I might actually bump that up to a 4 out of 5 based on how in-depth we actually were able to go with the philosophy and with the what it means to be human conversation and how deep we actually got. I was sure that the conversation was going to go that direction, but I didn't realize we were going to get so much content out of it. It never felt, Steve, to what you said earlier, a 3-hour movie can sometimes feel like an 82-minute movie if the pacing is right. And this episode of Hey, Did You See This One is content heavy. But
it felt like a short episode.
It felt like a short episode, but we're hitting. This is second longest episode ever.
Guaranteed. Honestly, if we had the time, if we really wanted to touch on every point, we would have been here 2 hours, the whole day. We could have done a full day of talking about the crazy nuances of this.
Listen to the antithesis that you hear when I wrote this Marvel down. It would probably be lower if it didn't have the cultural / artistic impact it does, which is the opposite of what I'm fucking saying after talking about it for so long. This movie's a 4. It's incredible. I don't remember it being so short and having an overly complicated philosophical tone while also having a super basic plot. That's real. I did not remember it. I thought this was an action movie. That was just.
I think that the fact that it hit us in almost completely different ways is very interesting as well.
Yeah.
All 4 of us had different takes, that's what a movie is supposed to do, man.
Yeah. I wonder if that's also true to the fact that we all saw it at different times. You watched it 11 and different times in our lives, and I just watched it on Monday and then just double featured it.
And I was kissing everybody when I watched it.
I'm trying to kiss everybody. I give this movie doing a backflip off a building in the nude to land in a superhero pose, but you're Scarlett Johansson.
Out of 10. Oh, you turn into Scarlett Johansson in midair.
And what went well, even better, what went well is the whole fucking movie's a masterpiece, and even better, there's some, make it dumber. Make it a little dumber.
A little bit more Western.
Help me understand.
Cast Scarlett Johansson or something.
Yeah, remake it, do it live action, and make it dumber.
Get some geishas that become these crazy spider things that crawl on the wall. That's what I want.
Exactly.
Dumber. All right. Well, excellent episode, guys. Cass, thank you so much for
Cass, please come back for all
Cass, if I may call you that, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome to call me Cass. Yeah, absolutely. It's been a blasty blast.
We're gonna start a podcast called Call Me Cass, and it's gonna be
Call Me Cass.
And you're not invited.
Yeah. Oh no, of
Cass, do you have anything that you want to share with the viewers?
Any plugs? You want to let people know?
I don't know. I don't think so. I'm a human on the internet. I do some singy and acty stuff. And
are you a human in real life?
Who knows? We'll never answer that question.
No fuck.
Do you know any jokes?
And you put your hand in your face and you disappear.
Let me Let me check my internet connection to
check off all your notes.
I gotta download it first.
3 pages. 3 pages.
I actually did write 3 pages. It's.
Are we
it's
missing anything? You got
insane.
anything else you want to like throw out there?
Not anything that could take less than like 15 minutes to digest.
Maybe we do.
So maybe next
Kaylin and Steve, I'm
do
Jason.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, Cass, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
It was a blast having you here.
Please come back.
You're welcome back anytime. Yeah.
Hey.
And let me just say for Kaylin, for Jason, and for Cass, I'm Steve.
For Kaylin and for Steve and for Cass, I'm Jason.
For Jason, Steven, and Cassandra, I'm Kellen.
Oh, wow. For Jason and Kaylin and Steven, I'm Cass.
Let me just ask you a question that I know is burning in your heart right now, as deep as your ghost or your soul, beneath your shell. Hey, did you see this one?
I hope you did.
The music is playing right now. So right now there's music playing, and
this is that part when you watch like the talk shows and you see the people talking
every
but you
single
can't
time.
hear
And
what
it's
they're
fading
saying.
out.
And then Kaylin starts dancing, and I say, "Kaylin, stop dancing. Only I may dance." And then I go,
"You don't do that." And then you shake her.
It's always a dance party.
And maybe there's like a pizza.
Ooh, what kind of pizza?
That's a good question. What kind of
Pepperoni.
Pepperoni?
Basic.
Basic?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm a margarita girl.